I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Time to rise and grind.
Are you kidding me? Holy on smoke!
And let's get this banter going.
It's bacon!
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
And it begins now.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell,
I think I just broke my chair.
He did what?
Has anybody ever told you you have a
Serious impulse control problem!
There is but one cause for me to follow. Almighty the bum!
And here we go.
Oh, yeah!
Michael on the drive across the lane. Turnaround shot. Got it. 63 for Jordan.
He did what?
A ground ball past Jenks up the middle of the infield. Uribe has it. He throws. Out! A White Sox winner and a world championship. The White Sox have won the World Series, and they're mobbing each other on the field.
You call dang blank staggered black skeleton and blinkety blank punk are you trying to do? Of all that low dirty...
Kobe Bryant on the move against Christie. In for the right. Flips his shot up. No good. O'Neal lays it up. Missed it. Ball tipped out to Ori. Straight on three. Good! The Lakers have won! Robert Ory's greatest hits tour continues.
Oh, no doubt about it. He's got to be getting a Grammy for that one.
Here we go on a Friday, folks. Time to end the week the right way. Good morning, and welcome to the fantastic Friday of the latest and greatest edition of Snowman in the Morning, the best sports talk show you haven't heard of until now, and we hope you're hearing more of it. You can follow along with us on social media by dialing up SNW Digital Media for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Pinterest. You can also log on to Snowman Digital Media for all of our great conversation from this show as well as others produced by Snowman Digital Media. You can hear us Monday through Friday on all of our great stations and networks in the region, across the nation, and around the world. The podcast version of this show will be available right after this show is completed. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's kick this Friday show off right. On your mark, get set, and away we go, man. So, folks, y'all know I bring people on here to have a conversation with them. This guy that I'm going to bring on, who I love very dearly, I can't, because he has more hot takes than I do. Like, Kyrie Irving has the best handles in the league, and we know that's a lie. Like, Aaron Rodgers was going to beat the 49ers in January, and that proved to be a lie. Like, I don't know. Well, he's a wise guy. He's one half of the wise guys. This is Trey Larkins, and he joins me right now. How are you, brother? Good to talk to you.
Pretty good. How you doing, Brian?
Now, you knew I was going to pick on you bringing you on here, right? You realized?
Yeah, I know. You always pick on me, man. You always got all the jokes, man. I know.
But it's in good nature. It's in good natured fun, though. Let's dive into this. Let's dive into this. Why did the Packers pick Jordan Love? And you know, there's two reasons I'm going there first.
Well, for me, to be honest, when I first heard of the Packers selecting Jordan Love with the 26th pick in the draft on Thursday night, it had already been rumors about the possibility of the Packers looking to pick Jordan Love. Jordan Love, he came out of Utah State.
Yes.
He 2018, he had 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, completed 64% of his passes. He even had 7 rushing touchdowns. He did regress in 2019. He only had 20 touchdowns to 17 interceptions, which was the FBS record. But
yeah,
he had a whole completely different coaching staff in 2019, had a bunch of different starters on offense. But a lot of people were comparing Jordan Love even to Patrick Mahomes as far as physical skill set. He can make auto throws. He's very mobile.
Yeah.
He can make something out of nothing. So there were rumors about the Packers possibly selecting Jordan Love with the first pick in the first with their first pick in the first draft. So I understand, them picking Jordan Love, but not only did they select Jordan Love with the first pick, in the first round, they moved up 4 spots.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, Brian, me personally as a Packers fan, I remained optimistic because I felt like this is a deep draft at receiver. There are a bunch of other receivers that you can get later on in the draft, in the round. So I was still confident that the Packers would get a receiver for Aaron Rodgers, and it didn't happen.
Nope.
And I was really, really dumbfounded as I was watching the draft go on and on and on. And I was sitting there, and I'm waiting. I'm like, I know we're going to pick up a receiver at some point, and it did not happen at all.
It's like the best shot y'all had to get a receiver, we got him. Brandon Ayuk got of Arizona State, and the Packers didn't even look at him. And that dumbfounded me, too. And you bring up a very good point. The Packers need hands bad, okay? And this draft, I beg your pardon, was indeed receiver deep. And not once did the Packers look at him. They didn't look at any of the receivers that were in any of the rounds. That surprised me. Yeah, it is. And then even when you look at the rest of the picks that we end up having, they picked up A.J. Dillon, running back out of Boston College. He's a bruiser. He runs between tackles. A hard runner, similar to Derrick Henry type of back. Mm-hmm. Even the rest of their picks, they got a linebacker, they got an offensive lineman, a center, guard. They did not get any skill position players for Aaron Rodgers at all. None. No playmakers on the outside. None. And it almost sends a message to me, Brian, that they are basically building this team, around the running game. We're not going to build this team around Aaron Rodgers anymore. Well, you know why? A profound message. This is where I start picking on my friend, folks. You know why? Because y'all got punished in Santa Clara twice using the running game. So you think Matt LaFleur is going to borrow from that game plan, which brings up another problem that the Packers have, and to be serious for a moment, that offensive, I'm not going to say the offensive line is trash, but I am going to say the offensive line is porous. Yeah, and I understand where you're coming from when you say that. Yeah. So I guess for me, the thing is, if they just paid Aaron Rodgers and gave him a bunch of money like a few years ago, and they signed him to a new contract. So why would you sign Aaron Rodgers to a new contract if you're going to build this team through the running game? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. You have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers who has 2 MVPs in his career, has a Super Bowl MVP, you know what I mean, has one of the best touchdown-interception ratios in the NFL. You know, why would you build this team around the running game? That's not going to fit well with Aaron moving forward on this team. Does Aaron finish his career in somewhere other than Green Bay? Does he suffer the same fate as Brett Favre? To be honest, Brian, I'm not ready to say that yet. I'm not there yet, Brian. I'm not there yet. I understand. I'm in denial. I'm in denial. This is very, very emotional for me, Brian. This is, my heart is in this. So I am emotional when it comes to this. So you were in denial last November when y'all got punished in the Bay. You were in denial in January when you got punished in the Bay, and you're in denial now. I mean, I'm in denial, Brian. I'll tell you the truth. I'm watching all the shows, First Take, Undisputed, and Speak for Yourself, The Hurt, all these media shows, on FS1, on ESPN. They're talking about the possibility of Aaron Rodgers having to play elsewhere and finish out his career. And I'm not there yet. And you ain't having it. There yet. I'm in denial, Brian, and I ain't ashamed to admit it. But see, I went through that in 1992 with a fella named Joe Montana when the rumors start swirling around, Montana may finish his career out of San Francisco. I didn't want to think about it either. But at that time, we had a fellow in place. Y'all don't have that fellow in place yet. You didn't really have it when Brett Favre went elsewhere, even though Aaron Rodgers was getting the majority of the snaps, and we could see the potential with Aaron Rodgers. Don't get it twisted. I saw the potential with Aaron Rodgers. Don't get it twisted, folks.
Yeah.
But the difference between this situation, a transition from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, then the transition from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and from Montana to Young was already established. Young had already gotten a few snaps in big games. Y'all don't have that yet. That's a big problem to me.
It is. And the thing is, in order for the decision in order for you to justify this decision to not select any playmakers for Aaron Rodgers in this draft, then Jordan Love has to end up turning out to be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yes.
That's the only way that the Packers organization decision to draft Jordan Love instead of drafting some skill position players for Aaron is justified. They were
there. They were there. They were there for the taking.
Yeah.
And not one went to Green Bay. That is so surprising to me.
Not one. And to make matters worse for me, Brian, I live here in Cincinnati. So I'm around a lot of Bengal fans, and they go crazy about the Bengals. They're excited about Joe Burrow. And so with the first pick in the second round, who do the Bengals select? Lo and behold, they select T. Higgins out of Clemson.
Yep.
Yeah, so that to add more salt to my wound, I'm looking at my hometown team, the Bengals. I'm not a Bengal fan whatsoever. Okay,
right.
Everybody knows I love my Packers.
Yes.
But I'm around Bengal fans. Bengal fans making fun of me. We got T. Higgins from Clemson. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, we still got more rounds to go in the draft. We still going to pick up a receiver at some point in this draft. And like I told you before, the rounds kept going and going and going. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
Right.
And it never happened. And like I said, I am just dumbfounded sitting over here as a Packer fan. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are y'all doing as an organization? It doesn't make any sense.
This man said one of the best lines to me, one of the first times I had him on in January. We were wrapping up the NFC Championship, and you're talking about living in denial. Trey said to me, I'm getting my Packer fans and myself pumped up for the game, but I knew we didn't have a snowball's chance in hell to win the NFC Championship. But I went back and listened to that. I did. I was at work before I came home and did my show. I went back and listened to that, and I'm sitting in the break room dying laughing at that conversation we had. And my friends come around me, and they said, what are you laughing at? I said, listen to this. And I played it back for them, and they just shook their heads and they were laughing. They're going, wow, he was in denial. I said, look, I've been there, okay? It's called the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s. I've been there. I understand what the young man's going through.
Yeah, I wasn't denying. I know you guys had a superior team. But the thing is now, though, moving forward, when it comes to the Packers, like, I think, to be honest, there was an article that Bob McGuinn, he's been covering the Packers for 38 years, even more than I've been born covering the Packers. So he's well connected, and he doesn't just put stories out there for attention or for hot takes. He's speaking on facts. But he said that he believes that Matt LaFleur is basically growing tired of Aaron Rodgers and how he acts. While he's in the facility, while he's leading the team. He basically said that he believes that the way Aaron Rodgers and how he acts, that Matt LaFleur is growing tired of Aaron Rodgers' act. So that could be a possibility that Matt LaFleur and general manager Brian Gutekunst, they are trying to send a message to Aaron Rodgers that this isn't your team anymore. We are going to go in a different direction, and we're going to basically walk you out that door in the nicest way possible. But in reality, it's really not even nice. They are basically letting it be known, hey, Jordan Love is our future, and we are building this team around the running game, not Aaron Rodgers. So, like I said, the thing is, I think Matt LaFleur is sending the message to Aaron Rodgers that this is his team now. And he is the new sheriff in town, and he's making all decisions for the Packers in the name of Aaron Rodgers.
So what do you think was the last straw for them to make these kind of moves?
Well, I think I do understand where people are coming from when they say, looking at the NFC Championship game and seeing how the 49ers literally dominated the game up front. I mean, you guys dominated the game in the trenches. I mean, literally, Jimmy Garoppolo, he only threw 8 passes for crying out loud. You guys dominated the game in the trenches.
Yeah.
Mo Start, that running back that you guys have, he dominated the game. He was the player of the game. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't have to do very much.
Nope.
So I do understand where some people are coming from when
Yes.
they say that maybe Matt LaFleur seeing how we got dominated in that game, and now he's trying to take a different approach. But I just believe when you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, you
give
on
him
your
some
team,
weapons.
you have to put pieces around him. And being a quarterback, at the Hall of Fame quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, anytime you select a quarterback at any moment in the draft, that means that you're thinking about the future. You're thinking about, I'm going to replace you in 2 to 3 years. Like, I don't give a damn what any coaching staff says, any organization says. If you select a quarterback and you already have a quarterback on your roster who is proven, that you're still at some point in trying to move on from that proven quarterback, whether it be in 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. And that's exactly the message that Matt LaFleur and the Packers organization sent to Aaron Rodgers by selecting, Jordan Love and not getting any kind of skill position players for Aaron to be successful.
You think they'd learn from history because they went through this before when they snatched Aaron Rodgers, when Brett Favre was there. You would think they'd learned their lesson from before. But they're going through it again. And like you said, they're trying to build around a running game. And I'll put another caveat to that. And I want your take on this. I think they're building around the running game for now until they usher Aaron Rodgers out. When they usher Aaron Rodgers out, they're going to try to get every receiving weapon they can.
That's definitely a strong possibility. I do, like last year, I know Aaron, he had 26 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, over 4,000 passing yards. But last year, the team really, really relied on third-year running back Aaron Jones.
Yes.
Aaron Jones, he had 16 rushing touchdowns, 49 receptions. He had a nice season. And to be honest, he was really the MVP of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Devontae Adams also had a nice season as well. He missed about 4 or 5 games in the middle of the season, but the offense was ran through Aaron Jones.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't take away from Aaron Rodgers' greatness. I think that's the thing when it comes to sports. And I'm going to get your opinion about this, Brian. This is just something about sports overall that I've been really, really noticing. I think sometimes in sports, when they have individual success, but the team doesn't necessarily succeed, we praise those players and praise those individual performances. But when those players' performances go down and the team's success goes up, we forget how great that individual player was.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Because I think this is something that happens in sports in general.
I'll give you a perfect example. His name is Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, they want Dak Prescott and the Cowboys to be one and the same, and they're not. Okay? I'll explain that later on next week. But Dak Prescott has great individual success, and they don't realize most of those numbers are bloated because he gets those in games where the game's already decided. But if the team has success, despite Prescott, they leave Prescott out of the news and put it all around Ezekiel Elliott and the rest of the guys. And I'm going, wait a minute now.
Yeah.
Don't you think that, didn't y'all say Dak Prescott was the man, and I don't think he is, for the Dallas Cowboys? And yet, he can throw for 4,000 yards, and 3,500 of those yards are yards after the game has long been decided. I've said it for 2 years, and I will continue to say it. Dak Prescott does not deserve the money that the Cowboys are thinking about paying him. And my suggestion to them was franchise him for a year. You franchise Prescott for a year, and you make him have the same level of success that the Cowboys have. If they're in sync and they go 13-3, I'll shut my mouth. But if they're not, I'm going to continue to say what I'm continuing to say about Dak Prescott. I'll trust Aaron Rodgers before I trust Dak Prescott. Okay, Aaron Rodgers has proven himself. As much as I pick on you and other Packer fans about him, Aaron Rodgers has proven himself. Yeah. I don't trust Prescott, period.
Yes, and I completely agree with you. Because, last year, Prescott had 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, close to 5,000 passing yards, completed 65% of his passes. But even when you look in the NFC East alone, in that division, Carson Wentz led his team to the playoffs, and he had less of a supporting cast than Dak Prescott had. Imagine if Carson Wentz had Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Randall Cobb was there last year. Imagine if he had those pieces around him. He might even lead the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl berth.
I'll give you a better example.
I'll give you a better example.
Yeah,
Dak Prescott couldn't even get the Cowboys to the playoffs.
And I'll give you a better example. Jimmy Garoppolo Jimmy Garoppolo came to the 49ers in a trade for a second-round pick, and they paid him immediately. Then he gets injured, and all the questions were surrounding him. Can he stay healthy for a year? Well, guess what? He took virtually every snap. He threw for almost 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. And, oh, by the way, he took his team to Miami. And people still want to rate Dak Prescott over Jimmy Garoppolo? Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, I see that was tough for me, though, Brian. I'll admit, I would say, I know that's your quarterback, or that's your guy. You got to defend him. I do believe that Dak is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think Jimmy Garoppolo, because I felt like in the Super Bowl, like even when you look at the Super Bowl, I felt like the defense put the Niners in position to win the Super Bowl.
Game. To win the game.
Yes, to win the game. And when it was time to make plays, when the big moment arrived, you know what I mean? When the lights was at its brightest, I felt like Jimmy Garoppolo let you and other 49er fans down. He didn't come up big like he needed to in that moment. So I feel like Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't believe he's a bad quarterback, but I also don't believe that he is on the level that Dak Prescott is at.
I'll trust him. I'll trust Garoppolo. I'll trust Garoppolo, the line and that staff, even though Kyle Shanahan could have made some better. All Kyle Shanahan had to do, and like you said, you were living in denial. I was living in denial for 2 weeks, and my wife was laughing at me. And you know, she was really playful about it, and the other fans were really playful about it. If Kyle Shanahan continues to run the football, they walk away. They walk away with a title.
Yeah.
Period. You didn't have to put the game in Garoppolo's hands. But at the same time, I see the other side of it. If you don't trust Garoppolo in this big game, how are you going to trust him in the future with the contract they paid him? So in many ways, I can see both sides of the ball. I just don't see both sides of the ball with Prescott. I just don't.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Also, you got to remember in the Super Bowl, while I do believe that Kyle Shanahan should have continued to run the football, I also understand as a coach, you looking at on the other side, you're not going up against just any regular quarterback. You're going against
Patrick Mahomes. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Patrick Mahomes is coming. He is coming. And I always say the key moment, really the key play in that game
3rd and 15.
was when your Niners, it was 3rd and 10. Your Niners were up 10, I think it was 20 to 10.
We were 20 to 10.
Play.
And we had Kansas City 3rd and 15, and the Legion of Zoom got loose behind our secondary. And you know what?
That was the key play of the game.
Yep, and all I did was stand and applaud because Patrick Mahomes made that play. And rightfully so. And he rightfully was elected the Super Bowl most valuable player. Okay?
Yeah.
He was rightfully elected the Super Bowl most valuable player. I came to bed that night, and you know, my wife said, "Did the 49ers win?" I said, "Nope, Chiefs beat us 31-20." And she says, "And you're not crying." No, we just got beat by a better team. We got beat by a better quarterback, all right? I put it out there the next day. What can you say when you have, for the first time in a while, the two best teams playing in the Super Bowl? You had the two best teams playing in the Super Bowl for the Vince Lombardi Trophy, and the better team made the plays. End of story. I'm not going to take that away from Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Never. And I love Mahomes. I love watching Mahomes play.
Yep, I agree with you. He played great. And like that play we talked about, that was the momentum changer of the whole game. But I want to ask you a question real quick. Let's switch gears back to the NFL draft, because we know in the first 6 picks, there were 3 quarterbacks selected. Joe Burrow went to the Bengals. You know, Tua went to Miami, and Herbert went to the Chargers. So out of those 3 quarterbacks, Herbert, Tua, and Burrow, who do you believe is going to have a quicker impact in the NFL? Like, what out of those 3 quarterbacks?
Justin Herbert. I'll trust Justin Herbert, and I'll tell you why. Herbert's got the experience. Now the Chargers have to work on getting him the weapons. Herbert's got the tools. I'm not saying Burrow doesn't have the tools. I'm not saying Tua doesn't have the tools. Lord knows I've kept an eye on all 3. I don't trust Tua due to his injury. I don't trust Burrow because he doesn't have the weapons behind him or around him. And that offensive line is horrible. But they did give him T. Higgins. They did give Burrow T. Higgins. But I'll trust the Chargers because Justin Herbert's going to be right in the line of fire immediately. I don't care what they say about Tyrod Taylor. Justin Herbert's going to be their starter. Day 1.
Yeah.
I think Herbert's going to be their day 1 starter.
Yes. See, for me, I actually believe that if he can stay healthy. We're just going to assume that all three of these players are healthy. I believe Tua will have a better career of the three quarterbacks. But I also believe that Justin Herbert will have a quicker impact than Tua and Joe Burrow because he has a better supporting cast. You know, you got Austin Eckler at the running back spot. You got Keenan Allen at the receiver spot, Mike Evans, Hunter Henry at the tight end spot. So I think his supporting cast is better than Joe Burrow and Tua's. And being even in Miami, I think Tua is going to probably sit out this year. Like, I think they're going to make sure that he's always back to being 100% healthy before they insert him into the starting lineup. He can learn behind Fitzpatrick, learn the system that Brian Flores is trying to implement in Miami. But when you talk about Joe Burrow with the Bengals, I think Burrow's going to struggle in his rookie year, Brian, because I think going up against that tough Pittsburgh Steelers defense and that tough Baltimore Ravens defense, I think it's going to cause havoc and cause some issues for Joe Burrow in his first season with the Bengals. Therefore, that's why I believe ultimately Justin Herbert is going to have a quicker impact than Tua and Joe Burrow overall.
I absolutely agree with that. You know, I wasn't too high on Burrow being number one in the draft, even though he had a fantastic year at LSU. He had the weapons. He had the weapons. I'll say it again.
Yes.
Joe Burrow had the weapons to get him not only a Heisman Trophy, but a national championship. He doesn't have that many weapons in Cincinnati coming in. That's a 3-year project waiting to happen. You know, Burrow's going to go through the same kind of struggles that Peyton Manning went through in Indianapolis. But see, the Colts were smart, and they got him the weapons immediately that he needed. And in the second year, he went from 3-13 to 13-3. That's not going to happen with Burrow. I trust Herbert because they have Eckler. They have a solid running game. If they do better on that offensive line, they're going to be fine. They are absolutely going to be fine. As far as Tua goes, you sit him for the first year and let him completely heal. You let him completely heal from that. You let him completely heal from that injury, and you just go from there. You know, because there's no way you can put Tua in an NFL situation right now with his hip not all the way being 100%. Now, if Tua's completely healthy, he's going to set the league on fire. Let's just be real.
I agree.
If Tua's completely healthy and that offensive line in Miami is like the line that protected Dan Marino in his second year where he threw for 48 touchdowns and 5,000 yards, and he has a dependable running game, then Tua will set the league ablaze. Because Tua, in many ways, reminds me of another left-handed quarterback called Steve Young. And as soon as the 49ers figured it out with the line and with the running game, you know, Steve Young was fine, went on to a Hall of Fame career. I see the same thing for Tua, but he's got to be healthy. He's got to have that offensive line protecting him. That's Trey Larkins, one half of the Wise Guys. I expect to have him back on plenty of more times as we go through the NFL draft and go through the season. And we're going to have a lot more NBA conversation too, because when the NBA does return, I'm going to prove to him that Stephen Curry is better than Kyrie Irving. I'll leave him with that laugh. But it's a great time, as always, when I have you on, my friend. Always a great time.
Yes, sir, brother. Definitely appreciate you bringing me on. Everybody going follow the Wise Guys on Twitter at Wise Guys, _H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And, be on the lookout for me and Clarence Nixon's latest podcast with Wise Guys Sports. Thanks for having me on, Brian.
I'm going to get Clarence in the hot seat. I'm going to get you both in the hot seat one time and have fun with both of you. I got to do it now.
Yeah.
The three of us talking sports, I'm going to have to clear an hour. I already know that. You and I knocked out an hour the first 2 times I had you on. But thanks for coming on, my man. I really appreciate it.
Yes. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
The Lyle Files is next after the break.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
The Lyle Files has returned, and wouldn't you know it, it returns on a Friday, and lots to get to, but let me introduce the man, Michael Lyle, joining me on this edition of the program. How are you doing, my friend?
Brian, thank you so much for having me back on as always. I'm doing great. How are you doing in the middle of this pandemic?
In the middle of this pandemic, I'm doing as well as I can. I totally understand the sentiments of a lot of people. How are you dealing with this pandemic? I mean, we've spoken off the air, but now we get to speak on the air. How have you and your family been dealing with this pandemic?
Oh, I have to continue to do my job, Brian. So that's the thing. I mean, we have a lot of restrictions in place here in New England where I live in Connecticut. I work at 2 radio stations. I work at one in Springfield, Massachusetts, and I work at another one in Farmington, Connecticut. So I'm back and forth right now, and my schedule has gotten busier by the minute because obviously with these restrictions in place, not everybody has the luxury of working from home, and some of us, like myself, have to go outdoors into this craziness and go to work. So I have to constantly deliver news across the board, all over the place. And listen, a lot of restrictions in place. I have to wear a mask now, and everywhere I go, I just have a nice little can of sanitizer and disinfectant handy. Yeah. I mean, prior to this pandemic, Brian, it was protocol for me to wipe down my consoles and wipe my hands, keep my hands clean. But now you're hearing about this consistently across the media landscape. Wash your hands, wash your consoles, keep your distance, social distancing, 6 feet away, wear a mask. I mean, I'm pretty sure where you're at right now, they're requiring people to wear a mask. It's the norm here. It's a little weird that we're seeing people with masks no matter where you go, but this is what they call the new norm. So I'm adjusting to it. I'm not going to let it drive me crazy. I know people are a little desperate now because we're going into a new month, and unfortunately, things have not gotten any better yet. I mean, we're seeing some progress, but a lot of events are still off. Sports is still on hold until at least maybe at some point in the fall, if we get that far. Although I heard that NASCAR is thinking about starting up their season this month, so we'll see how far that goes. And then it's just a matter of just wait and see what happens and to see where these numbers go. But I still think that without a vaccine to control this COVID-19 pandemic, we have a problem. So until there's a vaccine, I don't see how we can get back to normal lifestyle living and how we can get back to how things were before this all happened. So that's where we're at right now.
I don't see it either without a vaccine in place. You know, I hear rumblings about one, coming, but it hasn't showed up yet. So like you, I'm doing the best I can. You know, wife and I get up in the morning, go to work, come back, and I do this show when I get back in. You know, she helps me get cranked up and going. You know, and it's
so
crazy.
My parents. I mean, I talk to my mother on FaceTime a lot more now. I'm using FaceTime a lot more. Seemingly that's the only way she can see my face. And I can't come to New Jersey anytime soon where my parents live. So until things clear up, the best way I can communicate is over the phone or on social media or texting, or in this case, FaceTime. So, I mean, we keep in contact. Everybody's fine. It's only so much we can do right now. But like you just said, your wife takes care of your stuff. I mean, I got to do what I got to do. And we just got to make sure we keep these lines open until something happens. I mean, the question is when it happens, and then if it does happen, how will we react? Because now people are going to be getting back outdoors and thinking, well, do we want to be around people that may have gotten this thing, and then who knows who has what now? So there's a little bit of anxiety they have to worry about when we do get back to normal.
Well, there's a lot of anxiety, especially here in North Carolina where I am. A week from today, they're supposed to lift the quarantine. And like you said, there's a lot of anxiety hanging around now. Like, do you really want to be around these people after not having seen them for a while? It's tough. It is absolutely tough to gauge how people are going to react when the quarantine is lifted, one, and two, when the vaccine does come to place.
Well, that's the problem, Brian. I mean, we see a lot of these states starting to open up shop. I have to tell you, I don't like to talk politics, but I'm not a fan of the fact that people are desperately looking to reopen.
Right.
Some states in the South, like Georgia and Texas and Florida, have begun to open up shop for some of their businesses. I don't think that's the smart thing to do when you still have a pandemic, and the fact that the numbers continue to rise as we speak. I mean, they're flattening the curve a little bit, but we're not seeing anything significant to where we can feel comfortable about going outdoors. I mean, think about this. People still go outdoors now. They have to put masks on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you might be able to go into some businesses, but how do you react to having to sit down at a table where somebody is 6 feet away and then you don't know? I mean, this virus is so powerful, it can spread just by word, by mouth. I mean, that's why we're wearing masks now. So how do you actually get into an environment and be comfortable about it being in that environment? And we're still in a pandemic. And again, no vaccine to cure this thing. So it's almost like, we really want to play with fire. And then you're listening to all the medical experts, which I think is the other problem here. People are not listening to what the CDC and the WHO has been telling people is that you have to be cognizant and also mindful of the fact that this is a pandemic. So you have to think there's also stuff out there that's saying that this thing may not be over yet.
Right.
We might be over. We might be going into this thing into the fall and maybe even into next year.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no end in sight right now. And the thing that these states are opening up, I mean, it's a little mind-boggling. I mean, I understand that the economic environment right now is in shambles because you see unemployment rates going up, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we have to make money and survive, but I guess sometimes you have to not sometimes, you do have to think about life over profit. I think that's the issue right now. We're not thinking about life. We're thinking more about profit over human life. That's why I'm not so sure this is the right thing for these states to be opening back up.
And I wouldn't mind, waiting until the tail end of the summer or the top of the fall because, hey, for me, selfishly, I got high school football, and that starts in the fall. Gives everyone a chance, to get healthy, to get tested, and to get a vaccine when necessary, part one. Part two, the schools can get back in place, but they can do it in a healthy manner instead of a timely manner because everyone's so concerned about time, but you want to do it in a healthy manner also, especially when it comes to athletes, which is where I'm going next. But you want to do this right. You absolutely want to do this the right way.
Well, you just said you're going to have football this fall. That's if we haven't have football.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some talk right now that college football might be in jeopardy as we speak. The NFL is going to try desperately to get their season off the ground and running, but in terms of college and high school, that's a whole different entity. And some talk right now is that probably could be in huge jeopardy, considering that, for one, a lot of these states still don't have the restrictions lifted, and they're not going to be so quick to do so. And considering that you have a lot of people in these stadiums surrounding with each other, do you really want a crowd of 5,000 or 50,000 people around you after this pandemic and not knowing that, for one, not everyone has gotten tested.
Right.
So you think about the fact that the tests are not out there, not completely. Now you got to worry about people that have not been tested and may be infected, but yet you're not 6 feet away. You're sitting right next to them in the stands or standing right next to them.
Mm-hmm.
I would be a little leery about that myself. So that's why it's a little bit of a toss-up now as to whether or not football will commence in the fall. NFL is trying to see if they can get something going. We don't know if the NBA or NHL or baseball will get theirs underway yet. I don't know. I personally think the NBA might be off until, I don't know. I just don't see any sports right now until we get some clear understanding about where we're at with this pandemic. And right now, it doesn't seem promising. And some people have told me summer 2020, Brian, is canceled.
Yeah.
So
because I got the word yesterday that the Little League World Series is done. It's canceled.
Huh. Oh, really?
Yeah. I got that. I
just Little League World Series is done.
Little League World
Series. Baseball Hall of Fame did say that they have postponed this year's induction.
Yep.
Until next year.
Little League World Series is canceled. It's one of my favorite events to watch.
Right there, back to back, and then you look at everything else. NASCAR's going to try and get their season going. That's going to be interesting to see how they go with that.
Mm-hmm.
But then look at the other sports like the NBA and NHL. Obviously, there's concern. And again, until these cities are comfortable with reopening, and a lot of them have said they are not going to reopen until they are content and feel comfortable enough to do so. I don't know how you can play sports without it. If you listen to Dr. Anthony Fauci, he said many times that, we may have to bite the bullet and just say we just can't do sports this year because we have to get rid of this virus first before we can get outside and get around people and cheer teams on. And then, of course, the public you deal with at these events, not to play good cop, bad cop here, but, you've been to sporting events and public events and outdoor events where the general public obviously, not everybody is going to be abiding by the rules or on their best behavior, if you will.
This is the truth.
So
This
you
is
have
the
to think
truth.
about all that income. Yes, you know where I'm going with that. So sometimes you have to keep that in the back of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go in terms of thinking that we got to get around people that don't act like you and I would?
Right.
So that's another factor to weigh in with all this stuff, all this craziness going on. That's why I don't think we're not going to get anywhere anytime soon.
I don't think so either. And I don't mind that because you want to get things back.
Either.
You want to get things back normal, but you want to do it where the curve is absolutely flat. Forget flattening it. You want it absolutely flat, and you want to be sure a vaccine is in place and it's been tested and it's approved. There's multiple steps here to this. And speaking of the NBA, let's go there next. Let's have a little fun here on this Friday morning show. I am to say that I'm sick and tired of hearing a conspiracy theorist tell me that the NBA is canceling. I'm going to start laughing. Is going to cancel its season, and you know where I'm going. Prevent LeBron from winning a fourth championship.
Mm-hmm. I knew what you were alluding to here. I knew it. I know.
If
Believe
you only
me,
knew.
You're not the only one, Brian. Quite a few people have spoken about this, too. I don't want to play that role, and I'm not going to say that that's the truth, but let's just call it for what it is.
Yes.
LeBron can't stop the pandemic.
Nope.
Nobody can stop the pandemic. I don't care how good you are. You're human, and guess what? We're all in the same situation right now. We could see an NBA. In fact, the playoffs would be starting right now.
Yeah.
We would be in the middle of the second round or close to the end of the first round of the playoffs. The second round will be starting up at some point this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're already into the second round of the postseason, which would have been the case now. And it's May. So you figure in a few more weeks, we're in June. That's around the time of the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's no basketball before June, then how are you going to pull off a season? How are you going to do that?
You can't.
It doesn't make any sense.
You
can't. There's so many things that have been floating around that they can try and do a late. It doesn't seem feasible to do that in the summertime.
It really doesn't.
And especially, people are not going to want to go outdoors yet. And then you put the players out there, too. Listen, when Rudy Gobert contracted the virus from the player from the Utah Jazz, remember, he was in a press conference around a whole bunch of microphones that he rubbed his hands against to prove a point, which today a lot of people still don't understand why he did that. Which is why we're in this situation now.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is that he was not in a fan situation. He wasn't around a whole bunch of fans where he was in a press conference with a whole bunch of microphones and equipment that had a lot of germs and stuff on. You and I, we work with this stuff all the time, so we're used to having to wipe down our mics and our headsets and all.
Absolutely.
But what I'm saying is, this is about a player that was in a press conference. So you think about the player's safety now. It doesn't have to be any fans around. The players got to think about the players around them now. Let alone the media that's going to be allowed to access the play to cover these things. You know what I mean?
Think about all
the media
think about,
to cover them.
Think about all that's been either postponed or canceled. The NBA season, the NHL season, Major League Baseball. I think it's going to bite the dust, which clearly would be good for fans like you and me, because we're both fans of the Washington Nationals, so they can reign for another year.
They get to stay champions for at least one more season. Now, if you want to talk about conspiracy theorists, there you go. And what I will say about that subject is that I was listening to our favorite broadcasters, Charlie Slows and Dave Jagler.
Yes.
They were on a Zoom conference a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you saw this. The National Press Club in D.C. invited them to a Zoom conference to talk about the baseball season, and as well as the Nationals' run to the World Series, and how they feel that the pandemic, what can they possibly do, what can be done, if anything can be done to salvage the season, since it's already late in terms of starting time.
Yeah.
But Dave Jagler said it best. You have to go 1-0 every day.
Yep.
Remember when the Nationals were 19-37 last year? I believe that was, or was it 18? Was it
19-31?
1931. They used that mantra to say, "Stay in the fight."
Yep.
Well, Dave Jagler and the Nationals have come out with a new tagline where they say, "You have to go 1-0 every day." In other words, we don't have a baseball season starting up anytime soon, but still, take each day. You're going to go 1-0. Means you make it through the day, and you continue to make it through the day until baseball resumes.
Mm-hmm. And
until you hear otherwise right now,
we don't have a season.
As far as we're concerned, they haven't said the season is over yet, and that's what Dave Jagler was alluding to. The baseball season has not formally been called off yet.
Right.
So until then, the mantra is go 1-0 every day. You know, the Nationals are being more of the leaders in front of this because they have these unique taglines. First, it was stay in the fight. Then they won the World Series, and it became fight finished.
Yep.
And then in the middle of this pandemic, they're now saying go 1-0 every day.
And
they're making it so that we can all have hope to see baseball at some point.
Dave Martinez said one of the best things during the post game when they beat Houston in Houston. We stayed in the fight. We won the fight. I absolutely love that. And folks, I'm going to borrow that tagline for this show and say stay in the fight every day, because in the middle of this pandemic, we need everybody to take care of themselves.
Yeah, we need everybody to
flatten
the curve, which is what they also say. Stay inside, stay home, abide by the CDC guidelines, abide by your local government rules. Put that mask on, wash those hands.
Please
stay your distance.
Yeah.
And make sure if you have to leave, do so, and then don't stay outdoors. Or here's another thing. Don't crowd around. And see, this is the other thing. Don't crowd around environments where they say that they're letting people around, but don't get too crazy and get too carried away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I go out to parks now, I stay my distance because I look around, and even when I'm in the grocery store, don't you find yourself doing this now?
Yes.
When you're going food shopping, you see people around you that you see that are getting close to you, and then you look at that and the social distance rule. I just say, I got to go away from her or him because they're getting too close.
Yep.
And even if they don't have masks on, and that's the worst thing, like, you don't have a mask on? I'm going away. I'm going to go over here.
Right.
And, some supermarkets now have that rule where you have to go one-way shopping.
Mm-hmm. One way.
So
I've seen it.
This is the new norm in this society that we are having to adjust to. But that's why everybody's wondering, what will things look like when we do emerge from this?
Yeah.
Will things go back to normal, or will people be a little edgy? Because the talks again is that the virus may not just go away after the summer or in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Some say it may come back in the winter.
Weird. That's the only word that pops in my face.
It seems like the year that's been the theme of 2020. Weird.
Yes. It's like, can we just push the reboot button or something and start this year all over again? I mean, I really wish we could just push a reboot button, man.
Or do like they used to do with the old systems, just unplug it, or do like the old Nintendo 8-bit. Remember when you used to have to start those things on the day, blow into the cartridge and let's see if that's It had to take like 3 blows to that cartridge to get it started up because it worked the first time.
And
maybe it dust off some of that rust from the 8-bit Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh
NES,
my God, yes.
Oh, there you go. Now it's working.
There you go. And same with Atari. You don't like the way it's working right now? Unplug it, plug it back in.
Unplug it and plug it back in.
You unplug it and plug it back. You unplug it and plug it back in. I had the Atari 5200. I had the Atari 5200, and they introduced a pause button in case you had to go do something. Can we just put a pause on this for the time being?
A pause button. You know how many times? The generation wouldn't know much about a pause button now, let alone having to stop play or hit the reset button. Pause button was something that we were blessed with when we couldn't stop the game initially because we couldn't finish our game.
Right.
We didn't want to lose the game because if you turn off the system, you lost
the game.
Now you have a pause button.
I mean,
That's what it feels like right now. We don't have a pause button. That's exactly what this year feels like. We don't have a pause button.
No, we don't.
It, so we can hit the reset button on the system and start over. All the storylines are going to come from 2020, man. That's one of them.
My gosh. That's a horrid understatement. I like your analogy. Can you just let's just pull the cartridge out of the Nintendo, just blow through it a few times.
Blow on that thing a few times, and then try and start up, and if it starts acting up, it's bang on the thing like you used to do, like bang on it enough to where it's, okay, now it's working. Can you imagine how many times I damn near broke my NES doing that? Because the games were and the thing is, they were so brand new.
Yes.
And it wasn't like they were sitting around collecting dust. I'm like, why isn't this thing working? And then the graphics on the screen looked like computer codes after a few minutes. Remember that?
Yes. Dear God, I remember that. It would
bleed through the game itself.
It would bleed into the game. You whack the system, and then all of a sudden you get a fuzz, and then you get a couple of lines, and then all of a sudden it starts working again, and you take a deep breath.
And the binary code comes through all those numbers, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, what's going on here?
Right.
Like, that's not the feed. That's not the game feed. That's like somebody programming it from the inside.
Yep. And you think, what do I have to do to get a complete game in here? What do I have to do now? What in the world?
Yeah, it's like, what do I need to do to get this thing working out? Come on.
I'll tell you, a team that's going to be here's a team that's going to be thinking that in the future, and that's the Brooklyn Nets. You sign Kyrie, you sign KD. KD's out for the season or however long this is now. And then you depend on Kyrie Irving to lead your team? What the hell was up with that? I'm sorry. I mean, there's so many people.
It's funny how the Brooklyn Nets were being talked about as contenders when they got Kevin Durant and then Kyrie was there.
Mm-hmm.
And now this news? Well, then guess what that means? They just took a huge step backwards.
They did. I mean, I can't.
Because now, even though with Kevin Durant there, and even though I still think that Durant will be decent, I don't know if he's still going to be the same explosive Kevin Durant that he was in Golden State and Oklahoma City. But now you lost another scorer in Kyrie. Now you got the whole team to Kevin Durant. He's got to carry that load. That's too much.
It's entirely too much because, and I hate seeing this, and a lot of Net fans are going to get mad at me, and a lot of Kyrie fans are going to get mad at me. But the simple fact is, you don't know what you're going to get out of Kyrie night after night after night. The past 3 seasons have proven it. 2 in Boston and this one in New Jersey, in Brooklyn. Freudian slip.
It's formerly the New Jersey Nets, now the Brooklyn Nets, but we get what you're saying. But yeah, it makes you wonder. Now you lose Kyrie, and now KD, and I don't know. But remember, Brian, when we were talking about this last year around this time? Remember when everybody people were dogging out the Knicks, saying, "Oh, the Knicks dropped the ball again. They need to get Kevin Durant. Now they're going to fall to the Nets because they got Kevin Durant and Kyrie." Well, my friend, look how things have changed within an instant.
Absolutely.
Isn't it funny how things change?
Mm-hmm. It's
how
hilarious.
Just changed. I mean, I'm not saying the Knicks are going to be a contender, but all that talk about the Nets are going to be the better team now. They got 2 top scorers. Well, you take away Kyrie, the Nets are now down 1 scorer, and I hate to say, but unless they can build this team around Kevin Durant, that's Kevin Durant's team. And Kevin Durant cannot do it all by himself.
Mm-mm. He tried that in Oklahoma City, and then Russell Westbrook woke up.
Kevin Durant you're going to get? What kind of KD will you get?
Yep.
Whereas the Knicks now, even though they're still a young squad, but guess what, Brian? And I talked about this the last time we were talking about the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
What did I mention to you? You even said the same thing. The Knicks may be young, but guess what? The key word, they're healthy.
Yes, they are healthy.
They're young and they're healthy. That matters more than getting banged up damaged goods.
And I
was tired of the Knicks going after damaged goods.
Mm-hmm. And there are so many of them that they went after.
By not going down that route, because now they can save their money and go after a good free agent if they can, and they can build this team that's been young and learning the ropes, and they're going to get better because it takes good teams that are young to develop, and then they'll be good at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Knicks will probably at some point become among a playoff team contender in the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
It's going to take some time, but they'll get there.
It will take some time. They're young, they're
healthy,
and they're
not
learning.
Losing anything by not getting anything that's going to be hurting them.
Right. Something the Lakers need to learn. And I hate saying that about the. Look, let's just be real.
The Clippers were going to beat the better team this year, though. Everybody thought the Clippers were going to be the better team than the Lakers this year, though. And the Clippers did beat them already a couple of times, so. Everybody thought L.A. was going to become Clippers Nation and not the Lake Show anymore, because the Clippers seem to have found the way to run. They were running with LeBron, and the last couple of matches, the Clippers simply just the Clippers are. Listen, Kawhi Leonard is coming off an MVP season, so you got one of the better players in the league that's a lot hungrier now, playing in a bigger market and still showing that he can still do it, even with maybe not as many players around him and on the Clippers, but still has enough weapons to play with LeBron and his boys.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have made for a very intriguing matchup in the what many said was going to be the Western Conference Finals matchup.
Yeah,
many considered
it to be a West Finals matchup. I thought it would be a second round matchup, and that's how far I thought the Lakers would go. You know, it's round 2 because with the Lakers, in my eyes, it's more mental than physical. Yeah, you have Anthony Davis. Yeah, you have LeBron James, but 2 factors come into play. One, only one of those 2 has played in a complete season. And 2, who's going to take the reins during playoff time?
Nobody, and that's what matters most, the experience.
Yeah.
You have experience. I mean, LeBron's been there, so he counts. Kawhi's been there. He's a champion. He counts.
Mm-hmm.
But what does their roster look like? Do they have players on their rosters that have experience as well?
Yeah.
Anthony Davis has been in the postseason, so he has experience. But what about the rest of that roster? What about the Clippers? The Clippers have a lot of players with experience on that roster that have played in the postseason.
And the other problem I see with the Lakers, they don't have any defined positions. Who's going to do what? Are you going to depend on Anthony Davis to not only be the low post presence, but also the high post presence and have him shoot threes most of the night? What's the problem with that picture?
Well, no, they figured Rajon Rondo's out there for that reason because they got a point guard that can still shoot and run. But again, I mean, Rajon's been in the league for a long time, too. He's another one. So now you got to look at the nucleus of the Clippers versus the Lakers and who has a little more youth and a little more explosiveness.
True.
A lot of that was about the Clippers, and people said the Clippers looked a little more explosive than the Lakers did.
Let's close this out. You had something you wanted to rant about when it came to the Last Dance, a fabulous documentary about the Bulls dynasty. You got a hold of me after Sunday night, and you said, you need to get me on this show because now I got something to rant about. The floor is yours.
First of all, it's a very good documentary, and if you haven't watched it, I recommend you watch it and try to catch up on it. We're going into the 3rd installment of this 10-part series.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, it's been great for us basketball fans that have nothing else right now. Probably as close as we're going to get to actual NBA action anytime soon.
Yes.
So I recommend watching it every Sunday night, 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. And last week, the series shifted to the talk of Dennis Rodman
mm-hmm.
and the Detroit Pistons of the bad boy era.
Yeah.
Now, the Jordan Red Bulls, and you can attest to this because you covered this team back in the day, so I know you have a lot of knowledge about that subject and that team.
Mm-hmm.
But the Pistons era, the bad boy era, was probably one of the more ferocious eras and one of the more ferocious assembled franchises in the history of the NBA.
Agreed.
Because that team had the likes of Isaiah Thomas, Zeke, one of my favorite players,
mm-hmm.
Rick Mahorn, Bill Laimbeer, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman, John Sally, a host of other players that we can go down the list that are all eventually going to be Hall of Famers or have been in the Hall of Fame.
Adrian Dantley.
And they were a team that, coached by Chuck Daly, the late and great Chuck Daly, that was about defense. They were about physicality.
Yes, indeed.
They played the old Big East style basketball.
Yes,
now,
indeed.
the reason why I told you on social media why I wanted to vent is because, for some reason, I made a comment on Twitter that if you take that bad boy era Pistons team of the late 80s and early 90s, that won 2 championships, by the way,
yep.
and featured a team that beat not only Michael, but also beat Magic Johnson and Kareem, because Kareem was part of the 1989 team that got swept.
Yes.
And Larry Bird, to get to that point, and even Patrick Ewing with the Knicks. So that team beat a bunch of legends to get to where they were at, and that's why they cemented themselves as one of the greatest franchises in that era.
Absolutely.
But I made a comment that if you take that franchise in that bad boy era and put that in today's NBA, that bad boy era Pistons team would wipe up the floor with anybody in the league right now.
Yes.
And I said, I challenge anybody to argue that with me right now, right here. And I got to tell you, a lot of people agree with me, but there were some saying that, well, they would, but they would also have to toughen some of the players would also get toughened up a little bit too. I said, first of all, this era of NBA, and you can quote me on it, I don't care what anybody says.
Go for
I've said this before anyway. This era of the NBA is soft compared to the 80s and 90s NBA.
Oh, hell, I've said that.
Those guys played heavily and with ferocity and with defense. This era complains way too much for me. If you so much as breathe on somebody in this era of NBA, they call a foul. If you love tap somebody in this era, they call a foul.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, that was part of the game. You played through it.
I've said
you don't
that.
Complain about a little ticky-tack
Nope.
foul like they do now.
I said that on this show.
That era of basketball and that Pistons team would destroy any team in this era
They
right
would pick
now.
you.
And
They would defensively. Yep, they would defensively pick you apart. They will defensively pick you. They will defensively pick you apart. I said it on this program that this era is too damn soft for its own good. I've said it on this program, and I still get pushed back to this day about that statement, which is truth, by the way. If you take a look at today's NBA compared to the 80s and the 90s, when they actually play defense and play tough defense, just ask the Boston Celtics and the Detroit Pistons from 1987. Yeah, just ask the Pistons and the Celtics from that 7-game series in 87, or the 6-game war in the Eastern Conference Finals in 88.
When Jordan was being asked about that era, he was telling it like he thought, and they even showed clips. Jordan was getting hacked in that East Final with the Pistons. He was getting mauled. He was getting manhandled by that Pistons defense. I mean,
absolutely
right. It wasn't like these were like simple. These were like heavy, hard hitting, like wrapping them up. Jordan, like keep Michael from getting the ball, tackle him if you have to make sure he doesn't get a shot off.
Right.
Jordan was saying that this is why he hates that era, because he thought they were playing dirty. And listen, that's why they were called the bad boy era Pistons, because they didn't care what you thought. They were going to get the job done at all costs. That's why I said on Twitter, that era, that Pistons franchise, that team from that era would wipe up the floor with any team in this generation of the NBA.
And I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
Some of those little guys like to sit outside and shoot shots when they come down the paint, driving against Dennis Rodman and Joe DeMars and Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn. You think they want to take that chance with paint coming down the lane?
And to a point, Adrian Dantley.
Keister real quick.
And to a point, Adrian Dantley. Adrian Dantley was LeBron before LeBron showed up.
Yeah. They would all get put on their keisters real quick, Brian. They would send a loud and clear message. I don't care how fast you are. I don't care how quick you might be. I don't care how good of a ball handler you are. You come down our territory in our paint with those little fancy moves,
you're going to get swat.
Show you just how bad, what the bad boy era is all about. You're going to see what this era of the NBA is all about. Now, you'll be crying and begging to go back to the 2000 and the millennium age of the NBA like we're in now.
Easy.
Because you wouldn't be able to handle it.
I know LeBron sure wouldn't be able to handle it. And people say, "Oh, he'd run circles." Look, I gotta say this. I gotta say this before we go to break. People actually have looked me in the eye at my job and have told me that LeBron would run circles around Jordan's Bulls and Isaiah's Pistons. Wrong answer on both occasions. Both of those teams played defense.
The very longest. 1995, and a hat tip to you. The 1995-1996 Chicago Bulls team is still, in my eyes, the greatest basketball team ever.
Yep.
I'm a Knicks fan. Saying this. And one of the highlights of that year was my Knicks beating up on Jordan and beating him by 32 points on national TV. But that was only to be short-lived because 3 nights later in Chicago, the Bulls got back at us and returned the favor.
Yep.
But the point I'm making is that the teams like the Knicks were able to hang with those boys, but that 95-96 team was ridiculous.
Man.
72-10. Oh, and by the way, 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors, they finished the job.
Yes.
The job. Only time you give LeBron credit, they beat them because the Warriors didn't finish the job. You got the 73 wins, but you didn't finish the job.
Right.
After 2007 Patriots, what happened?
They lost to your New York Giants. They lost to your New York Giants.
That's right. The Bulls of that 95-96 season, they finished the job. It wasn't about just winning 72 games. They wanted that championship, and they took care of business.
Bill Wennington said it best.
I still say that team is the greatest ever.
Bill Wennington said it best. Doesn't mean a thing without the ring. When everyone was asking him about the 70 wins, Bill Wennington said, doesn't mean a thing without the ring. Yep.
So 80-2 and still not win the championship. Doesn't matter. You don't look at it as just, okay, you won 73 games or 72 games. But did you finish the ultimate job?
Did you win the title?
You did? Oh, you didn't finish it? Oh, well, then, okay, that's all well and good. But that's just another stat for the record books. But without no championship, sorry, Jack. Nobody likes to be in second place.
Nope.
And the Bulls right now are still the better team because they took care of business that year.
They sure
did. That's
did.
all I have to say about that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. I've said that 100,000 times on this program and on social media and people still want to give me grief. And yes, do I cover the Warriors? Yes, I do. But I also cover them with some truth. And the truth is this. They won 73 games, but they lost the title. Period. They didn't finish. The Bulls took care of business. All right. And I get a lot of fun grief from Yankee fans saying, "Well, we led 3-0 against Boston." Yeah, but Boston came back and beat you 4 straight times. We didn't
finish the job, though. I'm a Yankees fan. I don't even admit that. Listen, we were up 3-0 on the Sox, and they took the momentum away from us. And it all started in game number 5 when they had the steal. When we boxed it up, and that's what opened the floodgates in that series. Game 5 was a turning point in that series.
It was.
The Sox won that game. Then they took care of business back in the Bronx and finished it off in Game 7. We have no one to blame but ourselves for that.
Yep. And
it's that simple.
And I get a lot of pushback from Cub fans saying they led 3-1 against the Marlins. Well, the difference between the Cubs leading 3-1 against the Marlins and my beloved White Sox leading 3-1 against the Angels, Jose Contreras went out and pitched us a complete game in Game 5. And in 4 words, we finished the job.
Isn't it amazing that the White Sox were the team to win the World Series before the Cubs did? I always hear about that. The White Sox and the Cubs, the lovable losers, always come first before the Cubs, because the Cubs were supposed to be the team that have gotten the World Series before the White Sox did.
Yep.
And the fact that the White Sox are the first was like, well, I guess we know what kind of city that is now.
Yeah.
That's all about the Whites. Even though the Cubs still reign supreme, we already know that. That's like here in New York. It's always going to be about the Yankees no matter what, because it's just the way it is. But we know in Chicago it's always going to be about the Cubs because they're just the lovable losers. But the fact that the White Sox got the chip before the Cubs eventually did was like, well, I guess the White Sox now own that city.
Yeah. I know a lot of Cub fans were celebrating after 2016. I said, y'all can have your celebration. We were there 11 years before you. Okay?
You know,
we did it in 2005. We got there first.
We called first dibs on that.
Absolutely.
We got there first, and then the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup after that before y'all did. So there you go.
And the matter of fact, the Blackhawks won 3 of them before the Cubs won the World Series. 2010, 2013, and 2015. 3 Stanley Cups before the Cubs won the World Series.
Before the Cubs got the World Series. So that's a Blackhawks and a White Sox town right now.
Yep. It sure is.
You want to look at it that way.
And that's how I'm going to continue to look at it. Michael Lyle and the Lyle Files joining me here on this edition of the program. Man, it's great to have you back on. When this lifts, we're going to get it together. And I'm going to have you on each week. I truly appreciate you coming on.
No problem, my brother. Listen, stay safe out there. You and the wifey stay safe, stay healthy, stay indoors, and just take care of yourself. We'll get through this. We've been through worse.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. And we will get through this. A pause for a break, and then Dana the OG talks NFC West with me. Back in a flash.
can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Time to rise and grind.
Are you kidding me? Holy un smoke!
And let's get this banter going.
It's bacon!
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
And it begins now.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell,
I think I just broke my chair. He did what?
Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem?
There is but one cause for me to follow. Almighty the bum!
And here we go.
Oh, yeah!
The kick, and here it comes. Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books. The celebration is on. The Washington Nationals are the world champions.
You golden blank staggered black skeleton and blinkety black bunker, you trying to do? Of all that low dirty...
Johnson is three-point territory, but guarded tightly. Johnson cuts left, now fires a three. It is good, and he's fouled. It counts, and he is fouled.
Do you believe it? He did what?
Hour 2. I know, folks, I've been talking football all week with some of the great guests that I've had on the program. And now I'm going to have a little more fun by welcoming another OG from Old Turf Football, Dana O'Gorman. I knew that'd get a laugh out of her. So one of the NFC West OGs decided to join me, and she says, you know what? I got a few things to say about the NFC West. Here we go. Dana O'Gorman joins me right now. How are you, my dear? Good to have you.
Thank you. I am well. Thanks for having me on.
So you cover, for Old Turf Football, you cover the NFC West and the AFC West, correct?
Yes, I do both for our Turf Football. Yep. So we have 4 main writers, and each one of us covers 2 divisions. So we have our hands full during the season, but it's also a lot of fun.
I bet you have your hands full covering the NFC and the AFC West. Today's concentration is the NFC West. And for a very selfish reason, that's where my team resides, which is the defending NFC West champion San Francisco 49ers. So, of course, the draft just happened last weekend, a virtual draft. And I want to start with San Francisco because a lot of folks' opinions about their draft go either way, that they did not improve. Some say that they did improve. I say they did. Give me your thoughts on how the 49ers did this past weekend to improve their team.
You know, I'm one of those people that's kind of in the middle. I think they are still solid. I don't know that they had a huge improvement, but I don't think they got any worse. I hate to say that a team came out even after a draft, but that's kind of the way I feel about the Niners this year. I mean, they had a fantastic team last year, and I'm going to be totally honest. I have a little bit of a hard time being completely unbiased in this division because I am a huge Seattle Seahawks fan. So,
we're going to have fun. Okay, we're going to have fun this year. We're going to have a lot. We're going to have a lot of fun this year. You know, I pick on Seahawks fans a lot, but I know Seattle's got a fantastic team. Whenever you're led by a quarterback by the name of Russell Wilson, you're going to be in every ball game. Brandon Ayuk gets drafted. Mm-hmm. DeForest Buckner gets shipped off to Indianapolis. And I said from that moment that the 49ers were targeting Javon Kinlaw to replace him. And Kinlaw is a glove-in-hand fit for that 49er defense, which is so savage.
Yeah, he really is. And, you know, they used every pick they had but one on defense. So that should tell you something, I believe. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that they went after defense. They knew exactly who they wanted, and they knew they needed more help on the offensive side of the ball. You know, San Francisco has been known for years for their defense, and it got a little shaky there for a little minute a couple of years ago. But at the same time, you knew that that's where kind of their heart and soul lies, is in that defense. And I believe that Kinlaw pick was the perfect pick for San Francisco. I was thrilled to see them go after him, knowing that was their need. But then they stopped. on defense, and they turned their brain around to offense for the other 4 picks, which, that's okay.
And the Trent Williams trade from Washington to San Francisco filled an immediate need with Joe Staley retiring. Is that an upgrade at left tackle for San Francisco? It is age-wise, and they're getting an absolute bully at left tackle, and another glove in hand fit for the 49ers.
Yeah, I have some question marks surrounding Trent Richardson, but not because, or excuse me, Trent Richardson. I apologize, Trent Williams. Excuse me so much. But at the same, totally different player. But at the same time, Joe Staley was so fantastic.
Yeah, he was.
But you're right. Age catches up. All those reps, all those games. He is one of the 49ers players that I could just, even in a division that my team resides, I'm like, God, I like that guy so much.
Yeah.
I don't that they're going to get the leader they had in Joe Staley in Trent Williams. But at the same time, you're right. Age matters in this game. We all know that. And so I do believe that, I don't know if it's an upgrade in certain areas, but they definitely are going to get it in longevity with Trent for sure.
They definitely are. And I hate to see Staley retire, but 13 seasons playing the offensive line, and the age caught up with him. And here's a fun fact. 2 of my favorite left tackles both wore the number 74. Joe Staley and Steve Wallace, who helped captain that offensive line in the 80s and 90s for the 49ers. Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State. Wow. You talk about somebody falling into their lap. And, all the talk was about Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb. And the Niners, in a way, kind of go off the board to snatch a Brandon Ayuk. And again, another perfect fit, because no one knew what Deebo Samuel was going to do last year.
Right.
They have another one waiting in the wings in Jalen Hurd out of Baylor, who was a bully of a receiver himself. But if you take a look at Brandon Ayuk's film, you wouldn't think he's that fast. But once he caught the ball, he got away from everybody.
Right. I'm going to be really honest with you. I have a little bit more of a question mark around this pick than maybe you do, but it's just because I have this whole thing with the draft is you never know. We'll be able to grade this draft in 2 years. And so we will have to see, does he switch over? What spot are they going to use him in? When they get everyone back and how everyone is feeling, where does he fit? I think he looks like he looks NFL ready, but we have been tricked with that before, right?
Yeah, that's the truth.
Whereas I look at Kinlaw and I'm like, he's going to take off like a shot. Like, I have no question about Kinlaw at all. I have a little more question about Ayuk. But I don't think it was a bad pick in any way, shape, or form. He basically, we have Emmanuel Sanders, they lost, the Niners lost. He was signed with the Saints. So they had to find a wide receiver. They decided to take 2 in this draft. And I think that it'll be interesting to see how he does his second year. I think that that'll be the big jump.
Yeah, and you got a point. We won't be able to fully grade this draft for 2 years, and you're right. But then you have glove in hand fits like Nick Bosa, perhaps, who just terrorized everybody. And, the 49ers sent Matt Breida packing because he couldn't stay healthy and he couldn't hold on to the football. But then Emmanuel Mostert and Tevin Coleman can handle the load very well. Kyle Juszczyk, their fullback. But then they made another pick, which I questioned for a moment, but then thinking about the way Kyle Shanahan runs his offense, Cody Warner out of Georgia can act as not just a tight end, but an H-back. So now you not only get one great blocker in the backfield in Juszczyk, you get a second one in Warner. Just depends on how Shanahan uses him.
Right. Depth is important. Let me tell you, in the NFC West especially.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that depth is important because these teams, all 4 of them, beat the ever-loving crud out of each other in all of the games against each other. And that's why we like this division so much, right? They're rough and they're tumble.
Absolutely.
And that's why we do it. But at the same time, those injuries really start to stack up. And so this is a great depth. Charlie Warner is a great depth pick, just because, especially like I said in this division, you just never know.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? And then to finish up with the 49ers, he's had some problems off the field at Tennessee, but now he gets a chance to prove himself. I'm talking about Juwan Jennings out of Tennessee, and people were shaking their heads, and then they see his film. They're like, wait a minute. Did they just find another diamond in the rough? It seems that way.
You hear that a lot when you talk about Jennings, that he's the one who's going to make it or break it. He will either be the one who just kind of falls apart and disappears into nothing, or he will be a star. And that's what I was reading a lot about after the draft, is that this was the most intriguing pick from the 49ers was Jennings and what he'll do with this opportunity.
Let's take a look at your Seattle Seahawks. Round 1, they get Jordan Brooks, linebacker out of Texas Tech. So they get younger at the linebacking position.
Yeah. Here's the thing with Seattle. All right, so here's the thing. We all know this about Seattle. First of all, Seahawks fans were shocked they picked in the first round because that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Usually it's trade back 3 more picks. We're real used to that. We're real used to ignoring the Thursday night draft. But the fact that they went ahead and picked Jordan Brooks says something to me. It says that they see something in this kid. But we have to remember, as much as Seahawks fans love and adore Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright, you know, they were both, well, one was drafted 8 years ago, one 9 years ago. They've been here for a minute, you know, and granted, I believe that Bobby Wagner's not going anywhere for at least a while.
Right.
KJ Wright has had some injuries build up. Now, I think that he is completely underrated in his position in the league. I think KJ Wright's a fantastic linebacker, but he does have a little bit over the last couple of years of an injury history. Plus, you have to remember that Michael Kendricks is still up in Seattle. For now, his insider trading trial could start at any time, depending on when this comes up.
Yeah.
So there's another question mark. And so then they bring on Bruce Irvin. We're like, oh, there's the insurance policy. But they're switching him back to where he belongs. We have to remember when Bruce Irvin played for Seattle before, he played linebacker. He is a defensive end. They're moving him back to where he belongs. And so they had to bring in a linebacker that was young, could learn. They have Cody Barton in there who played well last year, but it never hurts. Pete Carroll loves competition, so they brought him in.
Darrell Taylor, defensive end out of Tennessee. They got him in the second round with the 48th pick overall. But then 3 offensive players in rounds 3 and 4, 1 in the third, 2 in the fourth. Damian Lewis, a guard out of LSU to help shore up that offensive line. Colby Parkinson, tight end out of Stanford. And then you snatch DJ Dallas, running back out of Miami. How do you see these guys fitting into that Seattle offense?
You know, Seattle right now has a giant tight end room. Now, not quite as big as the Chicago Bears. Let's keep that in mind. I think have 8 on their roster at the moment. But they have a large tight end group. And so, but once again, you look at those tight ends and they lost 2 of them last year to injury.
Yep.
And then a third one later in the season. They had Luke Wilson left. They bring in Greg Olsen, who actually I think is going to be a really good fit in Seattle for the way they're going to use him. He's not going to play every down, but the way they plan on using him, I think that'll be good. They bring back Luke Wilson. And so then they bring in more youth. I believe that the reason is they don't trust the injury history of a couple of those, of Hollister and a few of those other younger guys.
Right.
Just because they have a tendency to get hurt. So that didn't surprise me when they brought in a couple of tight ends. Will they be special teams? Will they be practice squad? Will they make the team? You know, we don't know. But it didn't surprise me that they brought that in a little bit. The running back is a no-brainer for Seattle.
Right.
It would not be a draft without Seattle taking a running back. The thing of it is that people who maybe don't follow the NFC West or didn't follow Seattle closely, they lost every single running back they had last year, which is why Marshawn Lynch came in at the end of the season.
Yes.
And thank God for him, can I say, as a Seahawks fan. But that's why. Lost them. Boom, boom, boom. All 3 of them gone. They had to have even a little more depth in that position because none of us really expect Marshawn to come back again. Once again, to save our fish. Thanks, Marshawn. But so they're going to bring in a little bit more. From what I've been hearing for people who know him out of Miami, he actually might be a really good fit in Seattle. A little rough on the edges, but we'll see. But you know, I wasn't really surprised when they brought in those 2 positions.
Let's look at the Arizona Cardinals. Isaiah Simmons will start at the top of their draft. Look at the Cardinals and who they pick, and tell me how you feel about this team going into this year as opposed to going into last year.
Well, let me tell you this. Their first pick, Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson, linebacker safety, I think that they'll probably use him more as a linebacker. I am a Seahawks fan, but I live in Kansas City. And Isaiah Simmons went to high school in the Kansas City metro area. We've been hearing about this kid for years here. Mm-hmm. And so I was real excited for him that he got picked. Do I think he will be a superstar in this league? I don't know. I'll tell you in 2 years. We got to see how he transfers over to that, to the NFL game. But I do think I was really surprised seeing them take a defensive player with their first pick. We have to remember, Kyler Murray ran for his life for most of the season last year. The kid, he couldn't stay in the pocket because it just collapsed around him left and right. And we understand the talent level that Kyler Murray has.
Yes.
And so I was real surprised that they waited till their second pick, but they got a great tackle in Josh Jones from Houston. Yes. So I was real happy about that. But that's the only offensive lineman they got. What?
Yeah.
They got, I was like, that made no sense to me with this draft that had so many good ones. However, I think they did a lot on they only got a running back in their lap with their last pick. Everyone else is on the defensive line, or linebacker. And so they're really beefing up that other side of the ball, which means they have faith in the people that they have there. Do I think the Arizona Cardinals got better after this draft? Absolutely. I think it has more to do with their, off-season acquisitions, let's put it that way. Obviously we all know about DeAndre Hopkins, and we all know DeAndre Hopkins is there to replace Larry Fitzgerald. God love him, and it'll be so sad when he's got to retire at some point, right? He can't play forever.
If he keeps catching the way he's catching, he ain't walking away anytime soon. See, Larry Fitzgerald reminds me of the greatest to ever do it, and that's Jerry Rice. Rice just wouldn't stop catching the football.
I agree. I always say that's the one player in our division that I want in a Seahawks uniform is Larry Fitzgerald. Like 10 years ago. So anyway, so I think that they did get better. I think that we might see this year what Cliff Kingsbury actually has in mind for his team. Last year, I think that he was just getting his feet wet. He had a rookie quarterback. We got exactly what we expected out of Arizona last year.
Yeah.
I think this year we might actually see it come together a little bit more, and we will see what that connection between Murray and Hopkins can become and take some of that pressure off of Larry Fitzgerald. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Now, last but not least, the Los Angeles Rams mortgaged part of their future. They got quite a few picks back. Let's start with Cam Akers out of Florida State. The Rams ran the football at will 2 years ago. Last year, they couldn't run worth a damn.
This team is the most frustrating to me of all four of these teams. And it's because I look at their talent level and I look at the way and we all said it. I'm sure you said it. Everyone has said it. What are you doing? They were giving away draft picks as quick as they could.
They were mortgaging their future. They were mortgaging their future. And they hemorrhaged they hemorrhaged their present.
It was, I have never in my life wanted to grab it and shake somebody by the shoulder so much. Like, what are you doing? You paid, golf, how much money? Like, I can't wrap my brain around this team. However, obviously, Todd Gurley is no longer there. Granted, they weren't using him. I think there was something else other than injuries going on there. I think there was personality conflicts or something going on there.
Yeah,
they bring in Cam Akers. They're trying to. Oh, sorry.
I would not be surprised if there was personality conflicts there.
I'm almost sure of it because you could just feel it, right?
On the sideline, you can see. I'll point to a game where you can see a personality conflict. The home game the Rams had against San Francisco, they take the opening drive, march right down the field and score, and then it seems like they put it on cruise control while the 49ers kept coming.
Right. Yeah, it's true. You could just feel it. And here's the thing, maybe, they wanted to get their own guys in there. Maybe he was ready. Maybe they realized that they had their shot. They didn't win the Super Bowl. They thought they were going to bounce right back, which every team that's been at San Francisco will learn it this year. God knows the Kansas City Chiefs are going to learn it. Getting back to the Super Bowl is extremely difficult.
It is.
And so, especially in the NFC, let alone also in the AFC. And so I think that was a bit of a shock to the system, to the Rams. They had the same players, they were going to roll right in. Well, it didn't really work out for them. And so they kind of are starting over. Now, for not having a first-round pick, they still had a huge haul in the draft.
They did.
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just like they had like 7 or 8 picks or 8 or 9 picks. And so they did well, and it was well balanced. You have, 2 offensive players, 2 defensive players, offense, defense. They went back and forth. Picked a kicker. Okay. Because I love that. I love it when the kickers get picked. But so we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I don't know if they can expect Akers to just take off. I don't know that he will be the Todd Gurley in the first half of the season, but I think once they get their rhythm and start to, get into, and he gets his feet wet, which is a terrible term, but it's true. He's got to get, he has to have his welcome to the NFL moment. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then we'll see what happens for him. I also really like Van Jefferson out of Florida. So I think that's a really good fit. But you still have the same quarterback who can be inconsistent. And so, and I'm not bumping on Goff. There's a lot of quarterbacks in this league who are real questionable, and he just fits right in with the rest of them. But I do think that, unfortunately, they put all their eggs in the wrong basket with him.
Yep.
He's a solid quarterback. He can be a good quarterback on certain games. It's the consistency that's the issue. And it doesn't matter who you put around him. We're still going to see that inconsistency.
It's like they gave, and this I will close this, and this is a comparison I've made so many times here on this show. It's like they gave Jared Goff Jimmy G money. Here's the problem. Right. Garoppolo can actually play the position. And when you study under...
I think Goff can play the position. I really do. But he's not elite. And they gave him money. And so that's where the question mark comes in. For as much crap as people are giving Dallas right now, Dak has moments. And so I can see where Jerry Jones is like, I'm not going to have you the highest paid player in the league. We need to talk about this.
Exactly.
I think that's fair. And so, I think that's one of the mistakes they made there. And then obviously there's something going on, front office, all of that. We know now that Clay Matthews, I think, has a lawsuit against the Rams because they owe him money.
Yep.
I mean, there's other things going on in LA, plus they're moving to a new stadium, plus this, plus that. I think that there's just other things going on there. On top of all of that.
What happened to the simple times where the Rams played in Anaheim Stadium and they were still the Los Angeles Rams? What happened to that? Yeah. Can we just have those kind of times back, please?
I actually liked them when they were in St. Louis because it was a short little drive for me. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
This division is going to be crazy this year.
Yeah, it is.
I think with the expanded playoffs that we're going to be seeing, there's a very high chance you are going to get 3 out of these 4 teams in the playoffs, and I think that'll be a lot of fun for us.
It will be. The OG, Dana O'Gorman, joining me to talk all things NFC West. I'd love to have you back in 1 week's time to talk all things AFC West. Can Mahomes do it again? That'll be a few of the questions that we'll answer. Thanks for joining me. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. So again, I'm Dana OG on Twitter, and it's DAYNAOG. And you can always find me at Our Turf Football. It's OurTurfSB.com, and it's the same on Twitter. And it was a great bunch of gals. We're an entirely female staffed sports website, so we have a great time over there.
Well, I'm gonna have to pluck them all and get them on the show here to, get all the divisions and get the divisions preview. Thank you, Dana. I appreciate the time.
Have a good day.
I got more stuff for you, folks. Back in a flash.
Snowman in the Morning.
Hadouken!
Where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
Now, I've had a ton of great guests on this show in the almost 7 years that it's been active. But I want to tell you something. This next guest that I'm bringing to you guys has a history all its own. From Kansas City, Missouri, the home of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, please help me welcome Mr. Bob Kendrick, the president and the man in charge, and he's on the other side of the hotline right now. It is an honor, sir.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Tell me tell me about the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum and how you became the president thereof. I am excited to hear this story.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is an interesting story in its own right, because I started here at the Negro Leagues Museum as a volunteer way back in 1993.
Wow.
Who knew? I had no idea that it would lead to one of the most gratifying career opportunities for me that I think I could have ever embarked on. I got introduced to the museum. The museum itself started in 1990, so we're celebrating 30 years as an organization this year, and we started in a little one-room office across the street from where the museum currently operates in a building called the Lincoln Building, the historic Lincoln Building, tiny little one-room office. And at that time, Brian, you had a number of Negro Leaguers, local Negro Leaguers who were still with us, and man, they literally took turns paying the monthly rent to keep that little office. And of course, with it, our hopes and dreams of one day building a facility that would pay rightful tribute not only to one of the great chapters in baseball history, but as now thousands of people each year are discovering one of the greatest chapters in American history.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm working at the Kansas City Star, the daily newspaper at that time, and I'm the senior copywriter in the Star's promotions department, which functioned as its in-house advertising agency. And I drew the assignment of promoting the museum's first ever traveling exhibition. That exhibition debuted in 1993 in a little storefront space right across the street from the museum. It is still touring the country today. As a matter of fact, it is on display at the Yogi Berra Museum right now. And of course, like most of everybody in this country, they're closed down due to the coronavirus.
Right.
But it's still touring. And we had some tremendous success. During the month of August of 1993, we drew some 10,000 people who came down to see that exhibition. And I think at that point, the officials here knew that we had something special. And the success of that promotional campaign that we did prompted them to ask if I would join their board of directors, which I did. And I served on the board for 5 years in a volunteer role, doing a lot of the marketing, PR, community relations, advertising things for the museum as a volunteer. And in 1998, I became the museum's first ever full-time director of marketing. And I served in that role for about 10 years. And then I left briefly in 2010 and came back in April of 2011 to become the museum's president. And now I'm in my 9th year as president of this great institution. So, as I mentioned, it has been one of the most fulfilling, gratifying things I think I could have ever done. I considered myself to be a baseball fan. And man, here was this entire chapter of baseball in American history I didn't have any idea about. And I just fell in love. I fell in love with the story, and I fell in love with the amazing athletes who made this story. And I just wanted to learn as much as I could. And you know what, Brian? I wanted everybody else to know. I didn't want to keep it to myself.
Right.
Yeah, I wanted everybody else. I was hoping everybody else would be as excited and would feel the same way about this history as I did. And then, as I tell people all the time, I met the late, great Buck O'Neil.
Oh,
and I tell people, once you're bitten by the Buck bug, it's a wrap. You just want to be on Buck's team. Yeah, and so I feel so incredibly blessed that I got to travel all over this country with my dear friend Buck O'Neil, and while he was out there preaching the gospel of the Negro Leagues and the virtues of this museum to any and everybody who would listen, and I was there for the ride, man. And what an incredible ride it was. And now I get to carry on in his footsteps. I've picked up the baton from him and trying to make sure that people are aware of this history, that the legacy of the Negro Leagues will play on long after there are no more Negro League players alive to attest to the greatness of these leagues.
And it's so incredible that you share that story. And I have always been of the vote that Black History Month doesn't just occur in February. It occurs every month.
No.
And the Negro Leagues are just a small proponent of that. Here's a piece of knowledge that a lot of people don't get. I understand. I mistakenly used the word understand. Here's a piece of knowledge a lot of people don't realize. That's the correct word I need. Kansas City has kept homage to the Negro Leagues by their name. The Kansas City Monarchs became the Kansas City Royals. And they stay within that realm. In fact, for a while in the majors, there was a day where certain teams would pay homage to the Negro Leagues by wearing their uniforms.
Yeah. And they still do. They still do. The cities that had significant Negro Leagues history, places like Pittsburgh, Detroit, Atlanta, Cleveland, of course, here in Kansas City, they still do annual salute to the Negro Leagues.
Yep.
And that's something that we are genuinely excited about and appreciative of, because what it is doing now is introducing a modern fan base to the history and heritage of our sport. You know, with this year being the centennial, the 100th anniversary of the birth of the Negro Leagues, formed right here in Kansas City in 1920. And of course, the great Kansas City Monarchs were one of the original 8 teams that helped form the Negro Leagues in 1920.
Yes, indeed.
And so this was a really pivotal year for us. And we're hoping that we can salvage as much of this year-long centennial celebration that we were planning, you know, after we move beyond this coronavirus situation that we're all enduring right now. And so, but yeah, no, it's always wonderful to see the current day athlete put on that Negro League uniform.
Yeah.
And to wear those pants up high, like they did in the Negro Leagues, and wear them a little baggy like they did in the Negro Leagues, man, and maybe tilt that cap a little bit.
Maybe tilt the cap a little bit, yeah. Just to keep that time-honored tradition of the Negro Leagues alive in the way that the uniforms were worn. And I've seen lots of film on it. I've seen lots of pictures on it, but it's nothing like seeing the homage being paid live. And I've had a chance a couple of times to see it with my beloved Chicago White Sox when they donned the Chicago American Giants jerseys.
Yeah. They do a great job in Chicago as well. And of course, every year now they do the Double Duty Classic, named for the late, great Ed Double Duty Radcliffe. And for those who may not have heard that name before, you know, number one, they had great nicknames in the Negro League.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, if you didn't have a great nickname, you probably weren't a good player.
Right.
And the great Ted, the great Ted Double Duty Radcliffe earned his nickname Double Duty when the great sports writer Damon Runyon saw Duty catch a Satchel Paige shutout in the first game of a doubleheader, pulled off the catcher's gear, took the mound, and threw a shutout in the second game of the doubleheader, and said he was worth the price of 2 admissions. He was nicknamed Double Duty. He was nicknamed Double Duty until the day he died at age 103 in Chicago in 2005. And Duty was one of the great characters in the Negro Leagues. Man, he would inscribe on his chest protector, "Thou shalt not steal."
Right.
Yeah, he was as colorful as they can.
Oh, man. 2005 is unfortunately when he passed away. And in 2005, all my Chicago fans know my Southside White Sox won it all that year. So it was a celebration all the way around, not just of Double Duty.
Kenny Williams.
But
Kenny Williams, who was the GM of the White Sox at that time.
Yes, indeed.
And Yeah, we honored him with the Rube Foster Award. Rube Foster's another guy who lived and died in Chicago.
Yes.
He was from Calvert, Texas, but Rube Foster formed the Negro Leagues here in Kansas City in 1920. And so our Executive of the Year Award is named for Rube Foster. And so Kenny is named the Rube Foster Award. And I'll never forget, he stood, when he accepted that award, he looked dead into the eye of Buck O'Neil and said, "We will bring the World Series champion White Sox to the Negro Leagues Museum next year."
Yes.
He delivered on his promise. He delivered on his promise. They are the first and only Major League team to bring all of their players.
Yep.
Now, we've had a number of players visit the museum, but never have we had an entire team. And Kenny fulfilled his promise to Buck O'Neil. And I'm sure there were some guys who didn't really want to come.
Yeah.
They didn't want to get out of bed and come down and do it. But once they were here, they were blown away. And one of my favorite memories, Jose Contreras, who was on that club.
Yes.
From Cuba.
Yep.
From Cuba.
Yep.
When he walks into the museum, and we have what we call the Field of Legends, which features 10 life-size statues of Negro League greats who are in position, cast in position as if they were playing a game, and they represent the first group of Negro Leaguers to be inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the guy who is at the plate batting was his fellow countryman, the great Martin Dehigo.
Yes.
Now, Martin Dehigo nicknamed El Maestro,
Yep.
the master.
Yes.
Because he could do it all.
Yep.
Played all 9 positions, played all 9 of them well. He is the only baseball player in the history of this sport to be enshrined into 5 different countries' baseball halls of fame.
Yep.
This brother is in the Mexican, Cuban, Venezuelan, Dominican, and in Cooperstown. And so when he walked in and saw his fellow countrymen standing proudly at the plate, he lit up. He lit up because I can be honest, you can't come out of Cuba and not know the name Martin Dehigo.
Right.
He was that good. But I don't know if he realized that he had played in the Negro Leagues, and that was probably the last person he expected to see when he walked in the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. So now you've instantly bridged that gap because the Negro Leagues opened its doors to any and everybody.
Yes.
They didn't care what color you were, man.
Right.
All they cared was, can you play?
Can you play baseball? Absolutely.
That's it.
Can you play? And Jose Contreras is one of my favorite pitchers on that team. The fearsome force of Contreras,
man, he had
Burley.
that Negro League swag.
Oh, yeah. Contreras, Burley, Garland, Freddie Garcia, the fearsome foursome. But what scared me about Contreras, and someone asked me this, if you could pick a pitcher that you did not want to face, for me, it'll be Jose Contreras, and here's the reason. I loved when he threw that fork ball, but I would hate it when it became an out pitch against me.
Yeah. It was nasty. It was nasty.
Anybody who watched Jose Contreras, he was good when he was with the Yankees, but when he got to the White Sox in 2005, it was just on. He figured it out, especially second half of that year, and his fastball wasn't above like 93 or 94, but he knew where to place it. And having A.J. Pierzynski as his catcher was awesome because he got Contreras to use that fastball, and not only use his fastball, but trust his fastball. Because,
and I think that's the thing.
Yeah, because when Contreras came in, he always wanted to throw his forkball, which was nasty in and of itself. But A.J. Pierzynski got in his head and said, you got to know when to use that forkball. So as Ed Farmer said, and God rest Ed Farmer's soul, when he did a post-game interview with Don Cooper after they clinched the pennant in 2005, the fastball became the front pitch, the forkball became the out pitch, and that forkball was nasty.
Well, we had so much fun with them, man. Hawk Harrelson and everybody.
Yeah.
Ozzie Guillen was with us. And, you know, when Ozzie left the Negro Leagues Museum, he went out and started really preaching the fact that every major league team should be required to visit the Negro Leagues Museum. It hit him in such a way. And that makes us all feel good in terms of the work that we're doing and the respect that is given to those players in the Negro Leagues. Man, I tell people all the time, these guys could play.
Yes.
it's this belief that if it didn't happen in the major leagues, then it didn't happen. And we're here to tell you, no, it happened, it happened in glorious fashion.
Oh, yeah, it did. It did. Man, this has been such a delightful conversation. Bob Kendrick, the president of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City, Missouri. And I'm going to just put this out there. One day, I would love an opportunity to do a show from your facility in Kansas City when the time presents itself.
Oh, man, let's do it. When the time is right, you just let me know. We would love to have you here. And we're going to feed you some of that great Kansas City barbecue. I know it.
I'll tell you what, one of the times I was in Kansas City, someone warned me about the barbecue. I said, why are you warning me about the barbecue? Because you won't stop eating it. I said, man, please, I have a game. And I had a game that night. I was covering games for Chicago State University. I said, I have a game. I'm not going to go to Kemper Arena, the venerable Kemper Arena. I'm not going to go to Kemper Arena full on barbecue. The barbecue's not going to do nothing to me. I couldn't have told a bigger lie that night, because when I got to Kemper Arena, and anybody who has eaten any kind of barbecue knows, if you have some real good barbecue, you're going to get sleepy really quick.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I'd had a barbecue meal, which included, God help me, homemade cornbread, and I had it at a place that was 3 blocks away from Kemper Arena. I said, I'm going to walk this off, and I'm going to be fine. I lied. I got to Kemper Arena. I walked in. I got situated. And the biggest mistake I made, and I'm having fun with this, folks, the biggest mistake I made, I sat down.
It's great stuff, man. And, you know how cities sometimes hype their food, and you find out, well, it's not really as good as they say. Nah, not with Kansas City barbecue.
Not
it
with
is the
Kansas
real
City
deal.
barbecue at all. Okay.
And this is a special place, so we would love, if ever the opportunity come for you to do the show from here, man, we would absolutely love it.
Oh man, consider it happening then, folks. When the tour starts, because the tour is being put together, and we need some sponsors for that tour, drop an email to snowmanofthemorning@gmail.com. One of the places that we will stop is the Negro League Baseball Museum in Kansas City, but it's in its planning stages right now. We got to get some sponsors, and we got to put it together. That, my friends, is Bob Kendrick, the president of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. It has been an honor and a delight to have you, sir.
Man, it's been my pleasure. And anytime you want to chat, please don't hesitate. We love this opportunity, and we hope that people will visit our website at nlbm.com to learn more about the museum. And, of course, if you're so inclined, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NLBMPrez, Prez. And we connected on Facebook. I'm brand new to Facebook. I'm just learning it.
Yes, we did.
I'm learning my way around it, but we appreciate the opportunity.
I'd also love for you guys to be an advertiser of this program. I'm a big baseball rat, being from Chicago, and I'd love to have you guys be an advertiser of the program if that's possible.
Well, that's something that we will absolutely take into consideration, and you can send me some information detailing, and we'll take a look at it. And hopefully we won't be experiencing this shutdown much longer. We can get back to the operation of what we do here on a daily basis, and that's get people into this museum. And so,
absolutely.
Hopefully this, like I said, this coronavirus shutdown won't impact us much longer. So, we're looking forward to getting back in the swing of things.
Well, we got our first stop on our planned tour to help celebrate my personal and my company's 25th anniversary in broadcasting, and it'll be at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City. We'll give you all the details once they come together and once all the plans are put in place. Thanks a lot, my friend. I truly appreciate the time.
It has been my pleasure. No problem. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Got more for you folks after this.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Time to rise and grind.
Are you kidding me? Holy on smoke!
And let's get this banter going.
It's bacon!
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
And it begins now.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell,
I think I just broke my chair.
He did what? Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem?
There is but one cause for me to follow. Almighty the bum!
And here we go.
Oh, yeah!
And that's hit pretty well and pretty deep to left. Gardner is going back, looking up. See you later!
You golden blank staggered black skeleton of blinkety brick broke. Are you trying to do? Of all that low dirty...
Michael on the drive across the lane. Turnaround shot. Got it. 63 for Jordan.
Do you believe it?
Murphy picked out of midair to Amani. Set him up, Roenick. Hartland! 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 Jeremy Roenick! After the giveaway was forced by Amani. What a play by Tony Amani. And Jeremy Roenick fired it home at the 123 mark. And the Blackhawks have come back from the dead in this series.
Hour 3. More draft talk, and this time we focus on the Carolina Panthers. And to help me do that, I welcome Desmond Johnson of The Rundown to break this part down. DJ, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. Enjoying this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing good as well, man. All right, let's get into it. Before we get into the Panthers, are you surprised that Miami took Tua at number 5 in the first round?
No, actually, I'm not. If people remember, really, through the first half of the NFL season in 2019, the talk was for tanking for Tua. And people thought that Miami was actually tanking for him because of the way they played the first, month of the season. Turns out they weren't really tanking, and Tua was the guy they wanted to begin with, and he kind of fell in their lap, just the way the draft board worked. So they ended up getting their guy without having to give up anything for him.
Yeah, this is true, and they got their guy. Now they have to protect him. All right, now let's get into the Carolina Panthers. Which way did you think they would lean in the first round, and did they match what you were thinking?
I saw a lot of talk about Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker from Clemson, who can do multiple spots. He can play linebacker, he can play safety, he can play edge rusher, and I thought about it. The more I thought about it as we got closer to the pick, I remembered the last 10 games of Carolina's season last year, and we were just getting gutted with the run. Like, guys were just rattling off 10, 12-yard runs right up the middle, and it's like every play it felt like it was excruciating. So you thinking about that and knowing that they did have Kawan Short coming back, the Panthers have always been at their best when they have a solid tandem. When they have a solid tandem at tackle, defensive tackle. So Derek Brown, he seems like actually I'm really happy with the pick. It seems like the Panthers and Matt Rule have consciously decided to bring in culture changers, character-driven type guys. And from all accounts, from what I've heard about this kid, super smart, kind of has I wouldn't say a military background. His father was in the military, so very structured. Really what they needed, a shot in the arm. And now you're looking at the defensive line with what they did day 1 and 2 with what they already had, and give them a year or two. And we may be talking about the Panther defensive line the way we talk about San Francisco's right now. Yeah. And you went to defensive line again, picking up defensive end Yetur Gross-Matos out of Penn State in the second round. What do you think his impact will be? I really like that pick. I wasn't sure what they were going to do in the second round. I've been on record saying I wanted them to draft Jalen Hurts, who actually went to a surprise place himself last night. But once it happened, and I read up on the kid, and he seems really raw, but I love his size. And hopefully our defensive line coach will be able to coach him up and get him going the way that we want him to. But honestly, with him and then our number 1 draft pick last year, Brian Burns, on the other end, Now you got KK Short and Brown in the middle. That's a pretty good starting defensive line there. Burns coming into his second season, I expect him to have a really big leap. And if this Matos kid is as advertised in terms of his potential, I think Carolina's done really. Actually, I really think they've killed this draft so far.
Yeah, I really think so too. But let's stay in the second round. Jeremy Chin out of Southern Illinois. They go mid-major to fix their secondary. What do you think of that?
I didn't know a whole lot about Chin. I went to go look up his info. Safety from Southern Illinois. They needed secondary desperately. Really, they needed every spot on defense desperately. Like whoever the best player available on their board was, if he was on defense, they were going to go after him. I like Chin. I like from what I've read about him. CBS Sports has the first 3 rounds or the first 3 picks for the Panthers all rated at A or higher. So I mean, the Brown pick got an A+. Gross Matos got an A+. Jeremy Chin got an A. I mean, they're doing really well. They had to give up a third to move up to go get him. But that if he pans out, that'll help a lot in terms of shoring up the back end of the Panthers defense. But I wouldn't be surprised if they double dip and go after another defensive lineman today in the 4th round, just primarily because it's easier to most of the top defenses that you could think of in NFL history, they usually start with a really strong front 7, not a really strong secondary.
Yep.
Like you have rare instances like the Legion of Boom and things like that, but even the Legion of Boom had a really good front 7 in front of them.
Yeah, they did.
And anytime Carolina's been really good, they've had a good front 4. Like they've been able to put pressure on a quarterback without having to blitz. Whether it's the original Panthers back in the late 90s with Kevin Green and Lamar Lathan and those guys, or the 03 squad that had Julius. Sam Mills and all the 3-4 defense they were running back then. They were able to apply pressure, but they had a great front. And not only took 2 years to build. It doesn't take very long to do this if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
The 03 Panthers, same way. Julius Peppers, high draft pick. Chris Jenkins, defensive tackle, all pro. And all those guys on that front. And then the most recent carnation from the past couple of years that had Kawan Short and Latulele and those guys. So I mean, it all starts up at the front, and I think that it's easier to put together a defensive front that you can run with for 4 or 5 seasons and swap out secondary guys than it is to pay a high-end cornerback and hope that he can cover for 5+ seconds every play, because that's almost impossible in the NFL. So I like what they're doing so far.
Well, here's something that just happened. There were rumblings about it toward the weekend, and Trent Williams has been traded from the Redskins to the San Francisco 49ers for 2 draft picks, a 5th-round draft pick this year and a 3rd-round draft pick in 2021. Man, the 49ers have been playing chess the last 3 years. You saw some of the results of it last year, and now they get some serious needed help on their offensive line.
Wow, San Francisco is very aggressive. I don't think they even had a pick until like round 5 or something like that.
Right.
Coming up here. San Francisco's got the right frame of mind, man. That was the one thing that Dave Gettleman did teach me, that you build a team in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line, and they're getting a former first rounder in Trent Williams, who didn't even play last year due to contract disputes and injuries and issues with doctors and all kinds of things. But by all accounts, he's still an all-pro caliber offensive lineman. So good for San Francisco to stick to their guns and do what made them successful last year: run the ball, stop the run. It'll never go out of style, no matter what the style of play is in the NFL. You can do that, you're going to have a chance.
And let's talk 49ers right now. They jettisoned DeForest Buckner. They sent him to Indianapolis in a money move. And what do they do Thursday night? They snatched Javon Kinlaw, a pick I had mocked to San Francisco, and people thought I was crazy when I said that. But they were looking to replace DeForest Buckner and keep that defensive line strong, keep that front 7 strong, as you said. They get an absolute beast in Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah, they basically swapped out a defensive tackle for a younger, cheaper version at the same spot, so they'll be able to continue on what they're doing and still be able to stay, reasonably, within their cap space to go do other things. I just like what they're doing in terms of bringing in young talent on rookie deals and basically kind of going from there. You've already paid your quarterback. You've got some people in skill positions. You've got a super good defense, especially like I mentioned before, that defensive front, maybe the best in football. And you're just replenishing it. You just keep feeding it and just putting new talent in there. Almost kind of like the way the Patriots were early 2000s, where they would just constantly, they would let somebody go before they reached their peak. You bring in somebody else, a top talent, first or second rounder kind of type guy. You ride him for 3-4 years, and then you move him out and ship in the next guy. So they're kind of taking that philosophy, it feels like. But hey, it works. So, shout out to the 49ers. They may be the prohibitive favorite in the NFC again.
And they're going to be they're going to be the favorites for a while because of the way
I think so.
because of the way they're stacking this. And once again, we talked about it last season, 4 first rounders on that front line. You swap out DeForest Buckner, you bring in Javon Kinlaw, and Kinlaw can pursue the ball. Okay, and Kinlaw is a perfect hand-in-glove fit for this 49er defense. Nate Burleson said it after they beat the Packers in the NFC Championship. There's a lot of defensive lines that are good, but the difference between the 49ers defensive line and a lot of others, the 49ers get home to the quarterback, and they do it fast.
Yeah. I'm looking around the NFC, and the other team that I would have thought may have been able to kind of compete with San Francisco would be the team they played in the NFC Championship game, the Green Bay Packers, but they may have created their own problems by drafting a player we're not really sure if they actually need it or not, but it kind of sent out shockwaves throughout the league in terms of what the Packers did.
It's weird that they snatched Jordan Love. You're going to create a competition anyway. Aaron Rodgers is still there. Aaron Rodgers is still going to do Aaron Rodgers things, but why do you think they selected Jordan Love?
Honestly, from my understanding, when they drafted Aaron Rodgers, it's kind of the same situation. They fell in love with the quarterback. He was supposed to he gotten talked up into like top 10 potential in terms of where he might have got picked. Fell out of that, and the Packers were sitting there with a situation where they're looking at Aaron Rodgers and thinking back to, 10 years ago when Brett Favre kind of held the franchise hostage every year by threatening to retire. And Favre was 36 when that started, and Rodgers was 36. And to be honest, if you really look at Aaron Rodgers' stats the past 3 years, he's been slowly declining. He's not exactly the way he was his MVP level type seasons from even 5 or 6 years ago. Maybe injuries are starting to catch up, just age or interest or who knows. But they were the benefactors of a weak division last year. Went 13-3, and I thought, maybe they just need another one, because they had Devontae Adams as a Pro Bowler. Yeah, the running back was a Pro Bowler. So Aaron Jones, is that what it is?
Aaron Jones, yeah.
Yeah, Aaron Jones. So that he has weapons. So that excuse doesn't really fall with me. But it would have been good to see someone like T. Higgins from Clemson or somebody land with the Packers, but they went with the quarterback, and I think they did it as a sign to let Rodgers know, hey, we're not going to be held captive the way we were. We learned our lessons from the Brett Favre situation, where every year was, I'm going to retire. Oh, I'm coming back. And the Packers were basically held at gunpoint every season waiting for Favre to make a decision. Maybe they decided, hey, we like this Jordan Love kid. He can sit behind Rodgers for a couple of years. And from what I've understood, Rodgers and Love have already communicated with each other and reached out. So I don't think it'll be a situation like it was before where Brett Favre really had nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers. He didn't look at himself as a mentor or anything. I think Rodgers will take a different approach to that. He's well aware that he's 36 and that, he did say he wanted to play till 40 plus like Brady and Breeze, but it may not be with the Packers, here down the road here. He's probably on his last big deal. And, it's sad, but it's the business of the NFL. Rarely do guys get to play start to finish with the same team for their entire career. And it'll be something to keep an eye out on for sure.
Yeah, it certainly will. Let's go back to San Francisco really quick. They did the same thing this year that they did last year. They go defense with their first pick in the first round, and then they get a wide receiver. Deebo Samuel was the receiver they picked. This year, Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State. Wow. I mean, you want to talk about someone, as crazy as this sounds, you want to talk about a receiver that was underrated. You got Brandon Ayuk, and now he's in that 49ers system.
Yeah, and again, the 49ers, they don't, with Jimmy Garoppolo, they don't really, you're never going to see Jimmy Garoppolo throwing for 400 yards and having, 50 pass attempts or anything like that.
Right.
They're just not built that way.
Right.
They're more of a grind it out, run the ball down your throat. They literally lost the Super Bowl because they stopped running the ball. It was that simple. They just stopped running the ball, and it was working. And a lot of the Chiefs were saying in the post game of that Super Bowl that they were happy that the 49ers
stopped running the ball
because they couldn't stop it.
Right.
Yeah, they couldn't stop it. So, it's good to have the weapons on the outside to keep defenses honest. The Deebo Samuel pick last year was a great pickup because he can play almost like a flanker position.
Yep.
Direct snaps out of the backfield, handoff sweeps and stuff like that. And then he can also run routes. Same here. I think they pick guys that can do multiple things out of multiple positions to help out. But make no mistake about it, the 49ers are still about running the ball and stopping the run. And they'll just do things today or over the course of the rest of this weekend to ensure they can continue doing the brand of football that they instilled last year.
Desmond Johnson of The Rundown joining me to talk all things NFL draft. And in case you missed it, Trent Williams, all-pro tackle, headed from Washington to San Francisco for a couple of draft picks. And I'll say it again, the 49ers are playing chess while the rest of the NFC is playing checkers. We'll keep you abreast on everything that's going on. Thanks a lot for the time, my friend. I truly appreciate it.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Got some more stuff for you after the break.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
You know how much fun it is to talk football on this program, and the people that join me? It's a whole lot of fun, and it's going to get even more fun because a very familiar name, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, especially from the late 80s and the 90s, is joining me right now. Former third-round pick out of the University of Arizona. He played alongside Jim Kelly, and he appeared in not 4, but 5 Super Bowls. This, my friends, is offensive lineman Glenn Parker of Buffalo Bills fame, and he joins me right now. How are you, my friend? Good to talk to you.
I'm doing well, thank you. Are you enjoying the draft?
You know something? How much fun, let's start here. How much fun was it to play along that line when you had Jim Kelly as your quarterback, James Lofton, Andre Reed, and those guys? How much fun was it playing with those guys?
Winning is fun. I don't care who's in that backfield. You really don't win. You win games, you're having a good time. And, that group of guys was kind of special the way it was built and it was put together. And I was the young guy who came in 90, and they had a pretty old, established line at that point with Jimmy Richard and Ken Hall and Howard Ballard and Davis and Wolford. And I just kind of, and Jim Richard, I think I might have said him, but I'll tell you what, older guys. And I was the young buck who came in, and I got to go to 4 straight Super Bowls with that group.
That had to be fun, playing with those guys, going to 4 straight Super Bowls. You had your challenges in the AFC Championship games, playing the Raiders, blowing them out, and then a struggle against the Denver Broncos in your second one. The one I liked the most out of the 4 that you guys won, the one where you had to go on the road to Miami. Miami was the higher seed, and, whispers started saying this could be the end of the Buffalo run, but you go down to Miami and you hand it to them.
Yeah, I remember that really well. There'd been some injuries during the year. We lost a couple games. We're finally getting healthy, and we won the wild card game. I think it was in Pittsburgh. Oh no, I'm sorry. We beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh to get down there. We beat, of course, the crazy wild card game against Houston that year, and then had to beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, which was an incredible game. And then to get down to Miami, they were saying, we finally got Buffalo. We're finally at home, because they used to cry about being up in the snow in the winter.
Right.
To get down there, it's about 75 degrees, your perfect Miami day. And we ran the ball well, but we ran a slip screen to Thurman, both sides, left and right. It was just called Rip and Liz, and we must have run that thing 25 times. And they couldn't stop it. They couldn't get after us with it. And, because of their pass rush, knowing that we were going to go a lot of empty sets or some 10 or 11, it was kind of one of those things that they had pinned their ears back. They had to drop deep enough to handle the speed of Lofton and Reed and all of our wide receivers. But what they weren't expecting was Thurman to slip out, get a ball, and have 3 offensive linemen in front of them against their backers who were dropped 20 yards away. So they didn't have an answer, and when they finally answered, of course, we had an answer. Between Ted Marchibota and Brezhnehan and the Brain Trust, they had come up with a great game plan. And of all those championship games, that one to me was really special, just because the hatred of the Miami fans towards us and vice versa, the hatred of the Pittsburgh fans towards us and vice versa. And being able to put so many rumors to rest because they finally got those games at home against us, didn't have to come to Buffalo.
Yeah. And a lot of teams didn't want to come to Buffalo. Let's go back to that wild card game. Down 35 to 3. And I remember watching this game, and you guys just had an attitude that you wouldn't give up. There were a lot of people that day that wrote you guys off, especially after starting the second half with an interception. You were minus Jim Kelly. Frank Wright came in and led the charge. And y'all just wouldn't give up that day. You embodied the spirit of what the Buffalo Bills were all about at that time.
Well, I think first off, you have a lot of pride because you've won a lot of games by that point. But then secondly, we had been imbued with that sense of just do your job. Just do your job one play at a time. And we said that at half, do your job one play at a time. Of course, we have the pick on the far side. Matter of fact, if you watch that film sometime, you'll notice I'm the last guy with a shot at him.
Yeah.
I dive. I hit my shoulder plexus right on the ground. I am completely out of breath. A college teammate of mine comes up. This is just not your dude, Park. He's one of the starting corners.
Yeah.
And I got to walk back to the sideline. I can't catch my breath. The next thing you know, we're back out on the field. And it's like, oh, my God, this is a long second half. But just do your job one play at a time. And just, all you can do is go back to basics at that point. And credit, Frank Wright, credit the coaching staff, understanding what we had, what we were doing, and coming up with some answers. And, it was one of those things. There's a whole lot of people in Buffalo that say they were there that day, and there were not many people up in the stands when we were down 35-3. So there's a whole lot of people that have lied about that over the years.
Yeah, and that was when it was called Rich Stadium at the time. And, just seeing that game, the wild comeback, 3 big fourth down conversions, 2 of them turned into touchdowns. And it was just a wild day and a wild ride down to Miami. You win the AFC Championship. You get to the Rose Bowl, and you face the Cowboys. And this is where my fandom is going to come in. I was really hoping my 49ers would see you guys in the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, but the Cowboys went to San Francisco and played a perfect game, and then you guys had to see them in Pasadena.
Well, yeah, they were a supremely talented team, and it doesn't help. I think we had 6 turnovers, or 7, and all 7 resulted in points. So, as a matter of fact, and I might be mistaken, but I think if you look at the line, we actually might have outgained them in yards,
right,
and time of possession. But you're behind the 8 ball the entire time by having turnovers that go for points.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the biggest things that can happen in a Super Bowl. Lord knows I've seen it. I know you've seen it. But playing under Coach Marv Levy, what was that? What was that like, playing under such a legendary coach?
Well, I think the thing with Marv that knows he's a great coach. Everyone knows he's incredibly smart. He told stories and sang songs and kind of came off as a little hokey to some. But what he did well was he communicated with everybody with a single sentence. So he could use a sentence in a meeting or in talking about or giving us a story that the smartest guy in the room understood it at one level, and the dumbest guy in the room got it still. They still got it, and the point was made. And that's an incredible gift that Marv had. And I never forget some of the stories he told. Just lessons from history of how to conduct ourselves and where we were going. And it was he's one of those guys. What I loved about him is he didn't get in your way. When I say that, he was very open and honest with the media and with the fans. Like, when they asked him why he didn't say things to this coaching group or that part of the team, he's like, I hire my coaches, I delegate authority to them. They're the best guys to be the coaches in that situation, not me. And that's the way it should be. You're a CEO. You're not a hands-on guy anymore when you're head coach.
Yeah, and I loved watching that team. You were drafted in the 3rd round out of Arizona. With the NFL draft going on, what was that day like when you heard your name called and you were headed to Buffalo?
Well, remember this. Anybody other than the very first pick in the draft is upset that they didn't go higher.
Right.
So, that's the way it is for all of us. And I had been told, by, at that time you couldn't go out early or any of that. I mean, the way it is today, you couldn't get guidance. I had basically been told you're a late first, early second guy, and you're going to be probably the 4th tackle taken, stuff like that. Well, along comes a huge group of juniors that come out, and all of a sudden, I drop to the 3rd round. I'm the 5th tackle taken, and believe it or not, in today's world, generally the 5th offensive tackle taken in the late first round. So I was a little bit, but that doesn't replace the feeling of joy you get and how much relief for all the work you put in, all the things you've been doing and giving up to get to that point, and the excitement you feel, the family around you. Everybody's so excited, and you have to constantly remind yourself during that period that this is just started. Nothing's over. You're just beginning. And that's where so many rookies have a problem come, middle of October. They start swallowing their tongues going, I've been grinding at this for over a year now. They go through their senior year, they train for the combine, they train for the draft, they go to the OTAs, they're in camp, and that doesn't happen in college. And so you're constantly, you have that inner battle of, I'm so excited to go do this yet. Oh my God, I got so much work to do. And I learned some great lessons through that. And I tell you, I learned that my brother Cole's way more athletic than I thought. He fell in the pool and never spilled a single drop of his beer. So that was pretty impressive. Other than that, yeah, you're excited. It's fun.
I love that. It is fun watching these guys get drafted, seeing their reactions when they go. And what's really fun is seeing them go to their favorite teams. And you said when you were drafted out of Arizona, you said earlier in our conversation, you were the young buck coming in. Their line, the Buffalo line, was already established, and you named some of the great players they had along that line, including Howard Ballard, Jim Richer, Will Wolford, and those guys. What was one of the first lessons that they taught you when you came into the Bills camp in 1990?
Well, I think do your job, work, hone your craft, learn how to watch film. All the things you think you know as a senior coming out, you really don't have a clue because you don't have time in college. You know, in college, you have a couple hours here, an hour there, where you're going to watch some film. And in the NFL, you meet as a team, you meet as an offense. As an offense, you meet for special teams, you meet as an offensive line. And the entire time you're watching film and you're listening to opinions and you're finding different angles of how to watch film. And you try to glean from one person or the next or some coach what it is that they're seeing and how can I see that? And then you end up developing your own method and what works for you and how you do it. And that's kind of, you know, I learned a lot that first year. I got much better by my third, but I'll tell you, as I got older, by the end of my career, when I was at the age when some of those guys were, I truly understood watching film and how to do it and what it was I was looking for and why I was looking for those things. So, and that's one of those things that's immeasurable when you come in as a rookie, because remember, you're coming in to take somebody's job and they don't have to treat you well. And generally, I always tell any kid that I mentor or get ready, do not become friends with the veterans. Because the minute you do, you'll start taking time out of your work to go. They're going to get you to go out. They're going to get you because they're trying to. They don't have your best interest at heart all the time. I know that sounds awful, but they're trying to keep their paychecks rolling. So they don't want to keep. Some guys, hey, hats off to them. The best people in the world, they teach everything. Some guys aren't like that. I've known both sides of it.
Yeah. I've spoken to a lot of offensive linemen that have played in the NFL, and I get it, and I use those lessons now in doing this show and getting everything prepared and getting it all together. That's Glenn Parker, 5-time Super Bowl participant. You remember him from his days running with Jim Kelly, the K-Gun offense, Marv Levy, and the Buffalo Bills. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you on the program, my friend. I truly appreciate it.
Well, I enjoy it. Thank you, man. It's always fun to talk ball and talk about the good old days, and they are old days now.
I want to have you back on a little bit later on, but toward football, so we can talk more about the old days. I'd love to have you back.
Anytime you let me know, and be happy to come on.
All right, I appreciate it. Glenn Parker, 5-time Super Bowl participant, and I got some more stuff for you after the break.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
I have been waiting and wanting to get this gentleman on for a long, long time, and schedules just didn't work out until now. Cornelius Brad Hanna is now on the other side of the hotline with me. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Brian. How are you? I'm glad to join you finally on your show and really talk some sports. I know you do a great job, so
I appreciate it.
It's an honor to be on your show. Yeah.
Honored to have you, my friend. Let's talk some sports. First of all, let's tell the folks about your show and about your network and how it got going.
My whole idea was to join something that was more global in the eyes of the world coming together in a sport itself. Sports itself is global, as we know, but American sports has a major impact globally. You know, we hear soccer this and it's an international game, but we know that all our American domestic sports are global too, and big fan bases, and you can see the growth with MLB and NFL, and hockey obviously has been international forever, and I'm forgetting a sport, basketball, NBA. Those are the main ones, but you think about it. So I said to myself, I need to join something that's more of a global side and try to keep talking global. And I got into it because I want to talk global sports, American sports, because there's fans all over the world that love American sports, and they're hungry to hear from you. They want to know about you. Not me, but like America and American sports. And they don't get enough information unless it's on the internet. And they want to talk to you. They want to comment. They have a voice. Somewhere in East Germany loves football. They do. They love their football.
Yeah.
And that's my motivation. I do have a lot of fans, here in America, but I really reach out globally because we are connected and they are listening and they're into it just as much as you and I are. So, that's why joining Global Sports Broadcasting Network and just taking it that way, it's just been really, really, it has to grow more. I have to grow more, in marketing wise, and it was about to go further, but this whole Corona thing just, slowed me down and a lot of people down. So, hey, I lost a couple of sponsors because of it. So it's real. So,
it is.
But anyhow, so I enjoy it. And the show is called Hannah Time, and, it's just something I do, 9:00, Arizona time. I'm based in Arizona, which is, California also is 9:00 in the morning too now.
Mm-hmm.
But on the East Coast, 2-hour difference. We don't change our clocks in the state of Arizona, so everybody else moves. So, but around the world, I can say to you, like in the UK, they're listening to me at, I think 4 p.m. I think it's 4 p.m., 3 p.m. Their time. It's like right around dinner time.
Yeah.
In that part of the world, in Australia and people like that too, they're like up in the middle of the night trying to watch football games and stuff. It's crazy. It's fun. All right.
It's a fabulous show. I have tuned in and I will continue to tune in, and I hope y'all do too. So let's get, all right, give me your thoughts on the draft. Who do you think made the best, who made the best pick to improve their team for this coming season?
Wow, there were some, like, we get caught up on all these great names, and I keep thinking, I like football players who play with physicality, physical, but they have what I call this hybrid mentality, athletic ability.
Mm-hmm.
I became a big fan prior to his near-death injury as Ryan Shazier.
Yeah.
When Ryan Shazier showed up, and he was running like, I don't know, I'm saying 4.2, but it was for a linebacker and everything else. He was fast as anybody on the field. I'm thinking he's playing defense. I'm like, this is perfect for the new era of defense. They got to match up against this wide open offense. I'm thinking this is the beginning of some more is he just the one I'm just recognizing? And I'm seeing more of those players. Now, some of them, they're trying to, transition them, but they don't have the Ryan Shazier ability yet. And then Isaiah Simmons shows up, and I'm thinking, we got big, tall, physical, athletic. It's a rounded football player. And then I look like Claypool from the Steelers, who picked him up. I'm going, that guy's I don't know, he's 6'4", whatever it is, but he's big, tall. And he's playing wide receiver. I go, these are the avatar players for the NFL. Now, he's on offense, but those are the kind of guys you want to see on defense.
Right.
To go up against those tight ends and those taller receivers who are freaks of nature, And I thought the Cardinals had a no-brainer that fell on their lap.
Yeah.
We'll see if and I love what the Steelers do with Claypool. I don't know why he dropped that far, but he's a freak of nature.
Yeah.
You remember Troy Polamalu?
Yes, I remember him well.
All right. He was all over the field, and he was so dangerous, but he wasn't 6'6". We're getting the Polamalu who was like 6'4", and who's all over the field, who can cover tight ends and receivers and get up on the line of scrimmage in the box tight, and make tackles and get through and as a linebacker, or get down on his fingers, and hands and, and the crouch. I mean, Simmons is that guy, and I love him. I hope he does well. But those are the players and the teams that get those kind of guys, Brian, are especially on defense. Right? I like what the Giants did with McKinney. I thought that was perfect for them. They need the secondary help. So did the Buccaneers. They had a weak secondary last year. They have a good defensive front. Great linebackers, with that secondary was killing them. And they took care of some business yesterday. We'll see these guys develop and become the game changers that we hope they all become. But I thought that was great. I'm not quite sure what Philly did, but I am okay with the Hurts pickup as a quarterback, because I think he's one of the best ones in the draft, to tell you the truth, right? You don't turn away.
Does the selection of Jalen Hurts signal the end of Carson Wentz's run in Philadelphia?
It's on his doorstep because he gets injured, right? He gets injured, and every year.
Yeah.
And, right? So, I'm anticipating Jalen popping in, and he's going to get some reps. He'll get some plays. He'll be, somehow incorporated with a player or two and learn the game. And that day is going to come. And the guy played 4 years as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a winner in college. I mean, I love that type of caliber of football. Remember I said football player, he's physical. He's being changed in Oklahoma. He became a passing guy. He was a runner-up for the Heisman, and he dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And he dropped. I think it was a steal, actually. But for Philadelphia, the fans are upset because they have so much going on. They got to do this and that. And I think Philly realized what you just said, Carson, is the future now. And so he's got a chance, and he's got to do something this year and do something big a year or maybe two, or Philly's making a decision.
Yeah.
I don't know when his contract's up, Carson, but that rookie contract, they'll make that decision. And Jalen needs to step up, by the way, to be a quarterback in this league. Deshaun Watson, I think Deshaun was a great quarterback, and he reminds me, Jalen, of what Jalen could be what Deshaun is doing right now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I could see it. I can see it if everyone comes back healthy for Philadelphia. I can actually see Jalen Hurts being inserted as a starter and Carson Wentz being phased out. Another pick I want to talk about, Chase Young to the Redskins. What's that do for Washington's defense?
Gives him identity. This is that, besides greatness, the guy that has all that potential. They already have some nice players on defense, but this is that guy who can just elevate that defense, just by making a play or two in a game. So he's a game changer. At least that potential is there. He is a beast. He is.
He is.
I think he can even get bigger because he's still young. He's going to because you put more weight on as an NFL player. So he's a beast, and it gives the Redskins identity on defense, and maybe it follows. The players follow that lead over time. Oh, how can a rookie, just by playing hard and being that beast and showing that on the field, becomes a leader in that way, or it becomes the character of that defense. And that's why I think it's a great pick. And it was a no-brainer. If you did not take him, it's like, it's like fire the owner if you could, you know. But it was a no-brainer.
Couple more we'll go over here. Tua goes to Miami at number 5. Are you surprised at that move?
I was thinking they would go Herbert at that point. I am worried about Tua's body.
Mm-hmm.
Not because he recently got hurt, where there's a feeling of brittleness, and unless he learns to be like Jalen learned to be a pocket quarterback. It's ironic they were on the same team,
right?
Alabama. But and Jalen flipped it, man. And I didn't quite get to see Tua flip it because of his injuries, and he was doing great in Bama. But it was, but I'm worried about his brittleness, and that's a concern. You know, and so I don't know. I want to be wrong. I don't dislike him.
Right.
Him. Actually, I was kind of upset when he threw that deep pass. Who was it? National championship game.
Mm-hmm.
He came in on halftime and beat him at the end.
Yeah. That was against Georgia a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That was against Georgia.
Yeah. So Tua, has that big playability, but I would also say, and I know Jalen is not the tallest receiver, but I think he's taller than most people think, and he's physically a little bit bigger now.
Yeah.
And I do worry about the smaller quarterback, even though they're good. The game is getting bigger, and it's hard. Deshaun is tall. People don't realize he's a tall guy.
Yeah.
And he's got but I worry about the smaller quarterback. If you're not a great pocket quarterback like a Drew Brees, he's not the tallest. I think he's like 6 feet at best.
Yeah,
and,
but
which is still nice. But
but
anyway,
Drew Brees has done. Drew Brees has done well. That's the thing. Drew Brees has done great for 20 years, and 14 of them have been in New Orleans. We're coming up against the break, but this is Cornelius Brad Hanna. It's Hanna time with him, 9 a.m. Mountain Time every morning. Tell the folks where they can find you, my friend.
Right now, you can find me anytime on Instagram or Facebook or even Global Sports Broadcasting Network, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The show is called Hanna Time.
I love it. Thanks for coming on, my friend. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank you. You got it.
Well, that's going to just about do it for this edition of Snowman in the Morning. Want to thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to log on to Snowman Digital Media, where you can hear a replay of this show, and also snowmaninthemorning.com, where you can hear a replay of this show. Check out the podcast on both sites, as the podcast will be available immediately after I close up shop here, which I'm about to do now. Until Monday, have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move, and always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. I am, and I hope y'all are too. Out of here for the weekend. Snowman out.